Your vision into a delicious, beautiful custom cake. Specializing in wedding, birthday, and anniversary cakes, a Cake by Sonia is like no other. Follow Cakes by Sonia on Instagram or come into the bakery at 2067 Barnum Ave in Stratford. For an amazing cake for your next event, it's Cakes by Sonia. 203-276-8880.
Stream WICC anywhere, wherever you go, we go. Go to voiceofct.com and click on Listen Live. Brought to you by the Connecticut Lottery. Visit ctlottery.org.
WICC Bridgeport, WFOX Southport, WEBE HD2 Westport, WPLR HD2 New Haven. Locally owned by Connoisseur Media.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. At least 40 people are dead across the South and Midwest after severe storms brought high winds, rain, and tornadoes to more than half a dozen states. Kyle Tucci sizing up the damage to his property in Calera, Alabama.
We had a lot of tree damage, came down on our fence and our bird enclosure. Probably at least 20 or 30 trees down. It's a lot.
The system's expected to whip up dangerous winds from Florida to New Jersey today. CBS meteorologist Tony Sadiku says it'll be soggy across New York and points north.
We are still watching that line of heavy rain associated with that cold front, sluggish to exit. So while that is the case, we'll have to watch for some potential flooding issues anywhere from, say, Long Island to, say, New England later today.
The Kremlin's just confirmed what President Trump told reporters on Air Force One last night. The two men plan to speak by phone on ending the war in Ukraine.
See if we have something to announce maybe by Tuesday. I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday. And a lot of work's been done over the weekend.
The White House is defending deportation of hundreds of Venezuelan migrants in defiance of an order by a federal judge that they remain in the U.S. CBS's Christian Benavides.
The government of El Salvador released images Sunday showing what they say are 261 gang members deported from the U.S., mainly from Venezuela, that will be held in detention by that country.
The U.S. and Houthi rebels in Yemen are vowing to escalate attacks after the U.S. launched airstrikes on the Iranian-backed group. CBS News military consultant Jeff McCausland.
U.S. officials have said these airstrikes are now likely to be the onset of an air campaign that frankly could last several weeks. Such a campaign may intensify in scope and scale depending on how the Houthis in fact react.
The rebels have attacked military and shipping vessels in the Red Sea in what they call acts of solidarity with Palestinians. A week that morphed into 9 months in space is almost over for astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. A SpaceX capsule's arrived at the International Space Station, delivering their replacements so they can return home tomorrow. Lots of people will be wearing green today. WBZ's Kyle Schaffel got in on an early St. Pat's Day parade in Boston.
It's a raucous crowd that comes from all over. I met people from as far away as Italy and plenty of locals.
All right, I'm so freaking excited. All right.
We're so excited right now.
There are more police here than last year, and the parade started earlier this year, but that doesn't seem to have changed the vibe much.
Happy St. Patty's Day!
S&P futures down 15. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-230-2777. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-230-2777. That's 800-230-2777. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. 800-230-2777.
WICC 695.9. Connecticut Lottery Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Both U.S. senators from Connecticut voted against the funding bill that was passed by the Senate on Friday. Senators Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy opposed the measure that continues funding the U.S. government through September 30th. Blumenthal says the Republican bill slashes billions of dollars from community budgets for police officers, firefighters, and teachers, and for critical research. Murphy says that this bill makes changes to the law that will make it easier for President Trump to implement his plans to destroy the country. Governor Ned Lamont is worried that cuts by the Trump administration could lead to a fiscal crisis in Connecticut. Lamont says the state's budget should be in good shape for the rest of the current fiscal year ending June 30th. However, the governor also says the uncertainty over huge spending cuts ordered by the Trump administration could lead to issues crafting the upcoming two-year budget package. The upcoming class of the Bridgeport Police Academy has been paused over allegations of misconduct. State regulators reportedly ordered the halt to the city's plan for a new class of cadets in June after anonymous complaints of sexual misconduct at the academy. The Police Officer Standards and Training Council gave no specific reason publicly for the decision reached last week. However, Bridgeport Police Chief Roderick Porter has indicated that it involved allegations of sexual misconduct. The UConn men and women's basketball teams have received their NCAA tournament assignments. The UConn men's team received an at-large bid as an 8 seed in the West region and will play a first-round game against Oklahoma Friday night. The UConn women are a 2 seed in the Spokane 4 region and will host the first 2 rounds at Gamble Pavilion in Stores. The Huskies open the tournament against 15 seed Arkansas State on Saturday. For the Voice of Connecticut WICC, I'm John Kamal.
Your news this morning is sponsored by Optimum Business. And again, if you want to take your business to the next level with Optimum Business Essentials, you can get reliable, secure internet, connection backup, and business phone all for just $99 a month. Visit Optimum.com/business or call 855-2-OPTIMUM today. Well, we are so excited and lucky to have Jen Tooker in studio, Westport's first select woman and the first official candidate to throw her name into the running for our next governor of the state. We're going to talk to her about her plans coming up next.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Bridgeport now to Southport, slow going Westport, Norwalk, Darien, building volume in Stamford. Now the Parkway, first of all, just be aware of left lane ponding. If you're on the Parkway, there could be some standing water in that left lane. Traveling from Trumbull into Fairfield, it's a slow ride, and more cars now heading through Westport. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Pack the umbrella. It will be a wet morning. Any rain ending as showers later this afternoon. It will be a mild day with a high in the upper 50s. Any showers end this evening. Clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow, provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains Tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
Selling your home is a numbers game. The more potential buyers who see it, the greater the opportunity to sell. And when your home is listed on Smart MLS, more than 21,000 realtors see it, and so do all their buyers. Suddenly, the number of people looking at your home starts to grow by a lot. More realtors sharing your listing, more people seeing your home, more offers coming in, and maybe even more cash in your pocket. Smart move, right? Ask your realtor, is my house on Smart MLS? Smart MLS, the smart way to sell your home.
Sometimes the most important personal breakthroughs are made possible by medical ones. And that's why Smilo Cancer Hospital delivers the pioneering research of Yale Cancer Center, like targeted therapies based on your genetic makeup and groundbreaking clinical trials that offer hope when you need it most. All delivered by a multidisciplinary team dedicated to you and your specific type of cancer. Smilo Cancer Hospital and Yale Cancer Center. We're powering breakthroughs with the greatest of care.
This is where Shelton starts the day. Melissa in the Morning on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
Well, we are very excited to have in studio Jen Tooker, who is the Westport First Select Woman and the first official candidate for the 2026 race for governor here in Connecticut. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Melissa. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here in the studio.
I know. I love it. And you look so awake.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I'm not as awake as you are, but I'm going to catch up real quick.
No, I think it's really exciting. And for people who maybe don't live in Westport or don't know you personally, Jen, why don't you, just start with that, just telling people a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm a mother of 3. I'm a wife. I am a businesswoman. I worked for almost 25 years for Gen Re, General Reinsurance, based in Stamford, Connecticut. And I am currently the first select woman of Westport. And if anybody's ever been to Westport, you'll know the town is absolutely fabulous. We're in great shape. Our fiscal house is in order. All of our long-term obligations are fully funded. Our infrastructure is gorgeous. Our natural assets and our parks and recreational facilities are gorgeous. And so I'm ready to leave Westport in great shape, and I'm ready to be your next governor.
So Jen Tooker, when did you become first select woman?
I was elected as first select woman in November of 2021. Prior to that, I was the second select woman for 4 years. Prior to that, I was on the Board of Finance for 4 years. And prior to that, I was on the Board of Education for 2 years.
Okay, so this is not new to you being a public servant, essentially.
I have served Westport as a public servant in elected positions for almost 14 years.
Wow.
So yes, and might I add, a deep blue town. So I do, as a Republican, know how to run and win in a deep blue town.
So that was actually going to be my question. I mean, going to the level of governor, I think, is very exciting. But we do live in a typically blue state. How do you run a successful campaign as a Republican in the governor's race?
Right. So, I think I'm very well known as a leader who knows how to make some tough decisions, knows how to hold government accountable, knows how to listen, and knows how to create opportunity for everybody. And I think that formula is what I've always brought to the table in Westport, and that will be the formula that I bring to the table as governor of Connecticut.
So, Jen Tooker, what's amazing is that you are the first official candidate, even before incumbent Governor Ned Lamont makes a decision, publicly at least. And I've tried to get in touch with a lot of his contacts to find out whether or not he is going to run for a third term. No one can honestly say if that is true or not. But why announce before even we know what's going to happen with the current governor?
Well, you're right, Melissa. I am the first person. This is not an exploratory campaign. I have absolutely announced that I'm running for governor. I know that is exactly what I want to do, and I know that's what I want to be my next step. And I know I want to serve the people and the business owners of this great state. And why so early? I am pursuing the public funding, and so as a result, that means I need to raise a lot of money in small dollar increments, and I need a lot of donations. And so that is something that's going to take months and months to do and to accomplish. And it's going to take lots of traveling this great state and lots of meetings in all 169 municipalities. And I think it's going to be an absolutely fabulous way to kick off this campaign, but it'll be quite a bit of work. And I want to give myself that time and that runway to raise the money that way. And so I think that it's going to be a fabulous next couple of months.
What do you feel you bring to the table differently than what has been at the table the last 2 terms that Governor Lamont has been in this position? What do you feel you would do either differently, or what would you bring to Connecticut if elected over whether it's Governor Lamont or whoever the Democratic candidate may be?
Sure. Well, right now we are really, really in the middle of an affordability crisis in the state of Connecticut. And so This administration has overseen a 33% wage increase over the last 5 years for state workers. We have one of the worst tax burdens in the state, in the country. Excuse me. We have the highest utility rates in the continental U.S., and all of that needs to change. All of that needs to change. And also, I will add, we're a difficult state to start and grow a business in. And so I will tackle the affordability crisis. I want to not only be a state where people can start and grow a business, but I want it to actually be a business-friendly state. So we need to make changes in both of those areas, and that's what I plan to do.
And you had mentioned that this is a full-fledged campaign, not an exploratory.
Absolutely.
So my question with that is, we do know at this point, New Britain Mayor Erin Stewart has made a lot of noise around her exploratory journey, if you will. How do you, before we even get to, the actual general election, how do you secure the primary win, the Republican candidacy over an Erin Stewart or many others who have said that they might be exploring a run for governor as well for the Republican Party?
So I'll answer that question two ways. First, as I said, I've decided to go with public funding, and so in order to get public funding, I need to get lots and lots of donations in smaller dollar amounts. So that really requires being out and about all across the state. And again, I've talked about this before. I feel very strongly that the role of the governor, as much as the role of the first selectwoman of Westport, is that you need to be accessible. You need to be out listening to your constituents, and you need to then be responding to their issues and their concerns. So, trying to achieve public funding, and as I am traveling the state, I will absolutely be gaining support from a grassroots standpoint. And then the other thing I will say is, the Republican Party in the state of Connecticut needs a big tent to win this election. We must have a big tent, and we need a leader who's going to focus on bringing us together on issues that we agree on and working together on issues that we agree on that will lift everybody up, that will create opportunity for the residents and the business owners of this state. And that is the type of leader I am. I've led that way in Westport in all of the different positions I've been in, specifically in the first selectwoman job for the last 4 years or 3.5 years, and I will lead the state of Connecticut that way as well.
So I'd love to learn more about when you say a big tent for the Republican Party. I'd love to understand that a little bit more and then talk about some of your priorities when we come back in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to Melissa in the Morning right here on WICC. We've got Jen Tooker here in studio.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Well, you have to go to work and kids have to go to school and you got to be in your car. Give yourself a few extra minutes of drive time this morning. And if you keep the speed down, things will be okay. If you're traveling on the turnpike right now, it is slow just past 27 in Bridgeport on the way into Southport. We do have volume Westport 17 through Darien and very heavy in Stamford from 8 to exit 6. Parkway southbound, that's slow. Trumbull heading through Fairfield, busy in Westport, down the hill into Norwalk's Route 7 is a slow go too. And I'm just looking at some more volume southbound on Route 8 towards Seymour. Sponsored by RD Cinto. If you move your office to an RD Cinto property, you could be in the health club right now. Learn more at Cinto.com. You deserve it. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Good morning, everybody. We are off to a wet start right now. We've got the rain, moderate rain in Bridgeport, Milford, and West Haven, and more moderate rain up Route 8 in the valley, right around Derby and all the way up through Oxford. A lighter rain and showers now by Greenwich and points west that'll move in by mid to late morning. So we have the rain over to showers by later this morning through this afternoon. They'll be on and off, but it will be a wet day. We have had nearly an inch of rain since last evening. Right now we're off to a mild start, 51 degrees in Bridgeport. Our dew point is 51. Humidity 100%. We have a light breeze out of the west, ushering in that eventually drier air. Our barometer 2978, that will be on the way up, and we are dealing with that very light rain right now. The rain over to showers through the afternoon. We'll have a high in the mid-50s, falling in the upper 40s by later in the day. The breeze will shift later in the day out of the north, and there'll be a gusty wind developing by later this afternoon. Cloudy this evening, and then clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Tomorrow, sunny with a high near 60. On Wednesday, sunny with a high in the upper 50s to near 60. Thursday, we'll get a few showers moving in later in the afternoon with a high in the mid-50s. And Friday, fair with a high in the mid-40s, but there will be a gusty breeze out of the northwest. Right now, we've got the showers, the heavier rain moving to our east of New Haven, and we'll have the showers scattered through early to mid-afternoon with a high in the upper 50s. I'm meteorologist Paul Fiorek on WICC.
Going out to eat for half the price? There's only one word to describe that. Sweet. It's another week of sweet deals at voiceofct.com. Half-price gift cards to your favorite locally owned restaurants and businesses. But when the sweet deals are gone, they're gone. And they go fast. So don't wait. Stay local and save some dough. Grab the half-price sweet deals now at voiceofct.com.
Bumped your bumper? Kissed a curb? With Sono Collision, your car will be back to top notch in no time. Because we don't just repair, we care. Visit sonocollision.com. Your car will thank you.
Connecticut Paid Leave, making time for life's most important moments.
To recover from illness or injury.
To give your employees peace of mind.
To welcome home an active duty service member.
To help a loved one get better.
To get help for your mental health.
To welcome a new addition to your family.
To leave an unsafe home.
Learn more about accessing the benefits of Connecticut Paid Leave. Visit ctpaidleave.org.
Our financial system is cracking under pressure. Your retirement is at risk. Take control now. Lear Capital is offering a free Sky High Silver Report and Precious Metals IRA guide at betternestegg.com. Don't leave your future to chance. Go to betternestegg.com.
Fairfield County, it's here. The Bridgeport Regional Business Council's Engage and Grow Expo, Thursday, March 20th at Total Mortgage Arena. Admission is free. Explore hundreds of businesses, network, and attend expert-led workshops. Plus, experience Fairfield County's hidden gems. Attend Engage and Grow March 20th at Total Mortgage Arena. Thank you to M&T Bank, the Greater Norwalk, Milford Regional, Greater Valley, and Fairfield Chambers of Commerce, and Bridgeport DSSD. Info at brbc.org. Pre-registration encouraged.
Head to voiceofct.com and sign up your office for free breakfast delivered from Cakes by Sonia. It's the WICC City Line Florist Breakfast Brigade.
From breaking news to interviews and everything else you need to start your day, you found Melissa in the Morning now on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
We have Jen Tucker in studio, Westport's first elect woman and the first official candidate for the race for 2026 governor for the state of Connecticut. And you had mentioned a couple minutes before, Jen, you said big tent. When you were talking about we really need to focus on having almost like you were saying like a big tent vision for the Republican Party in general, especially ahead of this 2026 gubernatorial race. What did you mean by that?
Sure. So what I mean is the Republicans do need a big tent to win. And what comes along with a big tent is lots of different ideas, some of which we're all going to agree on and some of which we're not going to agree on. And let me give you some examples that I think we as a Republican Party do agree on and we need to get done and really need to work on coming up into this next gubernatorial election. We have an affordability crisis in the state of Connecticut, and we need to tackle that. And what I mean by that is we have one of the worst tax burdens in the country. We have some of the highest utility rates in the country, and we need to get those under control. And so what I will focus on is controlling costs of state government immediately. We have government employees who have received a 33% wage increase over the last couple of years. I will immediately make sure that we negotiate with government employees and negotiate fair contracts that are economically viable for the taxpayers of the state of Connecticut. I'll also immediately take a look at who we have in what jobs, what skill sets do they have? Are they delivering the right sort of services to our residents in the state of Connecticut? So who do we have working in what jobs with what skill sets, and are they appropriate for that job? Also, immediately, we will need to get utility rates down. And what does that mean? We need to increase the supply into the state of Connecticut of both nuclear and natural gas. So those are things that Republicans can agree on. And also, we need a business-friendly state. We need this to be a place where businesses want to come. They want to start a business. They want to start and grow a business here. And what does that mean? We need to attract high-tech businesses to our cities. We've done that already in Westport with a Startup Westport initiative. It's a model that I believe is scalable and transferable, not exactly, but by and large, philosophically, to our cities. And we need to look at what red tape we have for our small and local businesses that really hurts them or keeps them from growing. And let's take away that red tape and those barriers and let them grow. So these are issues that all Republicans can agree on. These are issues that we need to be working on immediately to make this state affordable for everyone and to return opportunity for all.
I hate to bring up the past example of Themis Claridis, but I think it's a really good example to keep looking at, because I do believe there was this aha moment when Themis Claridis was, entering into a primary to become the Republican candidate to go up against Senator Richard Blumenthal the last time he had run for re-election, and she did not get the candidate for the party. It ended up being somebody else who aligned a lot with President Donald Trump, good, bad, or indifferent, but it wasn't the candidate who ultimately the state of Connecticut felt like was the strongest one to go up against Senator Blumenthal. And so my question to you is, how do you, again, sort of circling back, I know, the Republican Party has to really look at this. Is this something you've been talking to, whether it's an Aaron Stewart or it's other people who have said they want to run? How do you, make sure that we don't see that happen again, basically, by the primary election?
So again, I think that this is why I've started campaigning so early, right? And started talking to so many people at this point in time. We're 19 months out from the general election. And what we need to do is make sure the Republican Party, the Republican Party needs to make sure we're putting forth a candidate to the state of Connecticut that can win, right? That can win. And again, it needs to be a party with a big tent. A big tent means lots of differing opinions. We're not always going to agree. Sometimes we're going to disagree, but we need to agree on the most important and critical issues in the state of Connecticut to move this state forward, and for this place to be, the state to be, a place where people want to come, stay, retire, and live here and be able to afford to live here and have opportunity for themselves and their families. And that's what we need to focus on as a party.
How do you separate as well, Jen Tooker, whether overwhelmingly as a country people ended up voting for Donald Trump to be the president of the United States, in Connecticut being typically Democratic? How do you separate the federal view of the Republican Party versus the state view? Because they're very different parties. The Connecticut Republican Party is very different than the national Republican Party.
Right. And so what I will tell you is, I definitely agree with the president on certain issues, and I disagree with the president on certain issues. And I think, again, that's really very healthy and normal in a political party and in any organization. And so I think what we need is a governor who's going to have an open dialogue with Washington and ensure that we can work together on the issues that will serve the people of the state of Connecticut well. And when we disagree, we'll agree to disagree. And I think, like I said, I think that's incredibly healthy.
Jen, if anybody wants more information about your campaign, do you have a website or anything for more information?
I do, jentooker.com.
Okay.
And we're also on X, we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. And we'll be reposting this interview as well, Melissa. So thank you very much for having me this morning. It's been great to be on.
You are very welcome, and good luck. I know we'll be talking certainly over, like you said, the next 15 months. I'm sure we're going to be in touch many times.
I will welcome the opportunity to come into the studio anytime.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Westport's first elect woman, Jen Tooker, and the first official candidate for the 2026 gubernatorial race here in Connecticut, right here on WICC. We'll be right back.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
The rain continues to fall through your ride this morning. Southbound on the Connecticut Turnpike, it is pretty heavy. Bridgeport's 26 right into Southport. Got volume just past Sherwood Island 18 in Westport on the way to Darien. Heavy in Stamford. Stop and go volume between Trumbull and Fairfield, Westport, and Norwalk on the Merritt Parkway. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes. on WICC.
A wet start to the work week. Any rain over to showers by this afternoon after a heavier rain early this morning. We'll have a high in the upper 50s. Showers end this evening, clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Tomorrow is sunny with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
When disaster strikes, whether it's a house fire, furnace malfunction, or burst pipes, trust me, Felicia, the owner of Robin Hood Adjusters, to be your advocate. With over a decade of experience, I specialize in increasing the settlement value of your insurance claim and shielding you from unethical lowball offers by the insurance giants. Visit RobinHoodAdjustersCT.com and see how I can help protect your interests and get you the compensation you deserve. At Robin Hood Adjusters, I work for you.
Support the Bridgeport Rescue Mission through Jersey Mike's Round Up program and Day of Giving. All month long, round up your purchase or donate directly at participating Stamford and Greenwich locations. On March 26th, the Day of Giving, 100% of sales go to the Bridgeport Rescue Mission. Your contribution provides hot meals, housing, clothing, addiction support, and life skill classes to those in need. Together, we provide hope and make a difference. Visit brm.gives for more information.
Lost one or more teeth to gum disease, tooth decay, or an injury? Downtown Dental can help with top-notch care to get your healthy and beautiful smile back. And at the lowest price around, guaranteed. Get dental implants for $999 with crowns and dental implants in a day. Get the best quality at the guaranteed lowest price you will only find at Downtown Dental. With offices in Bridgeport, Norwalk, or West Haven, dental implants just $999. Visit DowntownDentalCT.com.
Do you have questions about real estate? Learn the secrets of real estate investing and get your questions answered during the Real Estate Show with Pat Civitella. Listen Sunday mornings from 9 to 10 for expert information about real estate investing, downsizing, and improvements before selling. Pat will help turn your real estate dreams into reality. Tune in and call The Real Estate Show with Pat Civitella. Sunday mornings from 9 to 10, right here on WICC 600 and 95.9.
This is WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
CBS News Brief. President Trump says he will speak with President Vladimir Putin of Russia tomorrow.
See if we have something to announce maybe by Tuesday. I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday. And a lot of work's been done over the weekend.
At least 40 people are dead as storms head east. It was all due to everything from tornadoes to wildfires. CBS's Dave Malkoff.
There are some tornadoes in this region that were on the ground an estimated 70 miles. There was one here in Mississippi that was on the ground for at least 51 miles.
Drone swarms inside the U.S. could be spying, and the ability to detect and track them is lagging. That's what Glenn Van Herk says, the former Joint Commander of North American Aerospace Defense Command and U.S. Northern Command, who was on 60 Minutes.
It's a capability gap. Certainly, they can come and go from any direction. The FBI is looking at potential options, but they don't have an answer right now.
CBS News Brief. I'm Matt Piper.
WICC 695.9, Connecticut Lottery Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Today is St. Patrick's Day, and there were multiple parades this past weekend. State Police Trooper Dan Hill spoke with WICC this morning about how safe Connecticut drivers were on the roads.
I think the most important thing is there was no fatal or serious injury accidents this weekend, which I'm very, very happy to report. However, we had 30 DUIs over the course from Friday to today. We had over 200 accidents with no injuries, 207 accidents with no injuries, and 21 accidents with minor injuries.
Trooper Hill also pointed out that with today being the day of the holiday, state and local police will be on the lookout for impaired drivers and urges everyone to celebrate responsibly. Both U.S. senators from Connecticut voted against the funding bill that was passed by the Senate on Friday. Senators Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy opposed the measure that continues funding the U.S. government through September 30th. Blumenthal says the Republican bill slashes billions of dollars from community budgets for police officers, firefighters, and teachers, and for critical research. Murphy says that this bill makes changes to the law that will make it easier for President Trump to implement his plans to destroy the country. Governor Ned Lamont is worried that cuts by the Trump administration could lead to a fiscal crisis in Connecticut. Lamont says the state's budget should be in good shape for the rest of the current fiscal year ending June 30th. However, the governor also says the uncertainty over huge spending cuts ordered by the Trump administration could lead to issues crafting the upcoming 2-year budget package. Connecticut Congressman John Larson also had harsh words for the administration, particularly regarding Elon Musk, after the tech billionaire failed to appear at a hearing regarding the Department of Government Efficiency.
I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so eminent, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security.
Frustrations with the president aren't limited to elected officials either. 100 people gathered on West Main Street in Stamford yesterday to protest actions taken by Trump, including but not limited to Elon Musk's involvement. The protest was peaceful and was one of several that took place across the country, with many others taking place at Tesla showrooms. News 12 reported that another protest was scheduled for Saturday, April 5th, in front of the Stamford government building. The upcoming class of the Bridgeport Police Academy has been paused over allegations of misconduct. State regulators reportedly ordered the halt to the city's plan for a new class of cadets in June after anonymous complaints of sexual misconduct at the academy. The Police Officer Standards and Training Council gave no specific reason publicly for the decision reached last week. However, Bridgeport Police Chief Roderick Porter has indicated that it involved allegations of sexual misconduct. Visitors of Great Island in Darien will soon have more freedom to explore with their dogs. The Town Board of Selectmen unanimously agreed to allow dogs off the paths on Great Island starting June 1st. The presence of dogs on the property has been a matter of debate in town for some time. TV 79 in Darien attended a Parks and Rec meeting this past fall where a townwide survey was cited about residents' concerns.
The first one is concern about ecology and ecologically sensitive areas and the impact that dogs can have on that. The second is a water quality issue because waste is a reality. And then finally, there are people who just say that they're afraid of dogs.
Pet owners will have to keep dogs on a leash while on property and will need to pick up after them too. A basketball coach at Foreign High School in Milford has been placed on leave after being arrested for an incident at practice last month. Foreign JV basketball coach Joe Meade allegedly shoved a player on his team, swearing at him in front of the rest of the team on February 19th. Meade is due in Milford Superior Court on March 28th. The UConn men and women's basketball teams have received their NCAA tournament assignments. The UConn men's team received an at-large bid as an 8 seed in the West region and will play a first-round game against Oklahoma Friday night. The UConn women are a 2 seed in the Spokane 4 region and will host the first 2 rounds at Gamble Pavilion in Stores. The Huskies open the tournament against 15 seed Arkansas State on Saturday. Yale's men's team also clinched a spot as a 13 seed facing Texas A&M on Thursday, and Fairfield University women's team, the number 12 seed, is set to face Kansas State Friday. For the Voice of Connecticut WICC, I'm John Kamal.
Your news is sponsored by the Fairfield Law Office of Eliasson and Tenor. Give your family and yourself the most important gift you can give, peace of mind. Visit ConnecticutElderLaw.com. When we come back, that horrific story that broke last week, a man who claims he was living in an abusive situation, kidnapping and held captive by his stepmother. And this was in Waterbury, Connecticut. It went national. And while the case plays out, it does lead to a great question, which is if somebody is in this type of a traumatic situation, how do they recover? How do they turn a new page and try to live somewhat of a normal life? We're going to talk to a health expert about that when we come back.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
91 northbound, we have a 2-car crash right around the Route 40 connector. Right lane is blocked in New Haven. Southbound is very heavy on the Connecticut Turnpike from Bridgeport to Southport. Westport's 18 through Norwalk. Lots of volume in Stamford. And a pretty solid ride now, heavy from Trumbull into New Canaan. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Pack the umbrella. It will be a wet morning. Any rain ending as showers later this afternoon. It will be a mild day with a high in the upper 50s. Any showers end this evening. Clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
At Abriola Parkview Funeral Home in Trumbull, we understand that planning for life's milestones is important. But what about planning for your funeral? While it may be difficult to consider, pre-planning can ease the burden on your loved ones during a challenging time. By planning now, you can ensure that your wishes are honored without leaving emotional or financial strain on your family. Visit Abriola.com to learn more about our compassionate pre-planning services. Plan today for peace of mind tomorrow.
No part of your home is more important than the roof over your head. Hi, I'm Eddie Griffin, the owner of Brown Roofing, your local expert for roof replacement and roof repair. Water resistant, weather resistant, wind resistant, our products offer superior protection that come with a 50-year lifetime transferable warranty. Call us today at 475-445-1195 or visit us at brownroofing600.com. Brown won't let you down.
From Greens Farms to Campo Beach, Westport listens to Melissa in the Morning on WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
The story has, of course, gone national. A Waterbury woman accused of holding her stepson hostage in her home for over 2 decades while also starving him. This was the story that broke not only headlines here in Connecticut, but across the country. And while that investigation continues, it leads to another question. The person involved in this investigation, the victim, who again alleges these years of abuse and being held captive and not eating and drinking out of the toilet. I mean, some of the things that police have outlined in this case are just gruesome, cruel, horrific. And police say whether or not it ends up being that the stepmother did in fact do these things, if there was somebody else and she knew about it, whatever the case may be, there was horrific trauma going on clearly to this 32-year-old man for a very long time. That is very clear. And so it leads us to a question. How do you even turn a page and recover and try to find some kind of a normal life ahead when you go through what this person did allegedly go through? So we are talking to the chair of psychiatry and behavioral health at Hartford Healthcare in the Fairfield region. Dr. Tobias Wasser is here. And talk to us, Doc, about maybe not this case in particular, but people who go through incredible trauma like this. Is it possible to live a quote unquote normal life again?
Hi, good morning, Melissa. So as you said, without knowing the details of this specific case, I wouldn't venture to get into it. But in general, when people have been through horrific trauma like this, it is possible to recovery, but recovery is a long and slow process that will take likely years until the person's able to return to what you might consider an average life.
What can we speak generally about, Doc, when we talk about children held in captivity? I mean, is there research you could share with us about that and what it tells us?
I mean, I think the research into children who have been abused tells you what you'd expect, which is that they have a very, very difficult path ahead of them. And now, of course, there are different forms of abuse. There's different forms of neglect, and there's different severities of that. And as you would imagine, the more severe the trauma suffered, the more difficult the road ahead. Their ability to function in school, in work, to have trusted relationships with peers, loved ones, is significantly damaged. And it takes a village to bring these people back.
And I want to just reiterate that we are not talking, I'd say, specifically to the Waterbury case because it is very fresh. We're not even 2 weeks into the investigations and court appearances and all that. I mean, it's very early on. But just generally, we are talking to the chair of psychiatry and behavioral health from Hartford Healthcare's Fairfield region, Dr. Tobias Wasser. Dr. Wasser, what could lead someone to hold a child captive for so long? Again, this case was over 20 years, but in general, we have heard of these types of cases nationally, even internationally. So what could lead to that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and certainly this is never a one-size-fits-all situation. There are, and often we don't fully know why people engage in horrific behavior like this, what would cause someone to harm a child. What we know from the literature, the scientific literature, is that often people who harm others have been harmed themselves. And so one of the common sayings in behavioral health is hurt people hurt people. And that's often the case. And so, without without knowing any of these details, we could imagine that in similar situations, people who perpetrate abuse have often been abused or neglected in some way. Sometimes they themselves have elements to their personality that maybe are pathological, that require treatment that has been unaddressed. And sometimes there may be aspects of substance use or human trafficking. There are all sorts of reasons. So it's hard to give a one-size-fits-all answer.
It reminds me a lot, Dr. Wasser, of domestic violence. A lot of times the research will show that most times the abuser in that case or the attacker either grew up in a household where they saw it, they witnessed it, or that behavior was thrusted upon them. They were the victims of, abusive parents or grandparents, uncles, what have you. It sounds very similar to that.
Yeah, well, I do think there's a parallel. So for all of us, when we are young and we're in our early developmental stages, our environment makes a strong impression on us and on our brain. And there's actually now been a lot of research that shows, we used to think about, is it nature versus nurture? And what the most recent science tells us is it's not nature versus nurture, but in fact, the nurture, the environment you grow up in, actually changes your brain. It changes the chemistry and the biology of your brain. So the nurturing environment, whether it is highly nurturing or not highly nurturing, can have a significant impact on your developing brain and your learned behaviors moving forward. If you learn that the way to respond to stress or conflict is to become aggressive because that's what your role models did, it increases the risk that you may in the future engage in those kinds of behaviors.
And when we come back, I want to talk about treatment because, again, while we can't speak specifically to the Waterbury situation, unfortunately, doctors like Dr. Wasser, they have seen people who have gone through severe trauma and would love to know what are the steps forward. What does treatment look like? And so we're going to talk about that after we take a quick break. We're going to be right back here on Melissa in the Morning.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
The rain continues to fall southbound on Route 8 now. We're seeing delays coming from Ansonia through Derby and Shelton. Parkway southbound is slow. Fairfield right through New Canaan. Stop and go on the Turnpike. Bridgeport to Southport. Heavy Westport's 18 into Norwalk. 9 to 6 in Stamford right now. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Pack the umbrella. It will be a wet morning. Any rain ending as showers later this afternoon. It will be a mild day with a high in the upper 50s. Any showers end this evening. Clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Yes, I can tell you firsthand, I was woken up at about 1 o'clock this morning because the wind and the rain were just wicked outside of my window, so I thought I'll come to work early. And it's a good reminder that if you have any questionable trees on your property, it's the time to call my friends at K&J Tree Service, especially because you've only got a couple more days in order to get in on their aggressive winter discounts off of all of their services. So don't wait for the wind or the rain, even some snow, because it is New England after all, to take down any of those pesky trees on your property. In fact, reminder, K&J offers a free tree risk assessment by one of their licensed arborists. And again, until March 19th, they also are offering aggressive winter discounts. So you don't want to miss out on that. And I want to remind you that if you do make an appointment with them, it doesn't mean you have to have the work done by March 19th. It's just that you will get the offerings by March 19th. So again, all you've got to do is go to their website, kjtreeservice.com. You can get immediate tree removal. You could have prevention planning done. You could have a team come out, again, for free just to do a tree risk assessment on your property. And again, you want to get in on some of their great deals going on only until March 19th. So do not wait. Go to their website, kjtreeservice.com. Trust me, you, your family, your property, and your wallet will thank me later. That's kjtreeservice.com.
WICC is live and local in the afternoons. It's Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli. Weekdays from 2 to 6.
No surprise that a lot of people want answers in that alleged Waterbury abuse case, with reports now that signs were missed for years. And a national approval for Democrats now at an all-time low, but Senator Chris Murphy is worried about masculinity. No, I'm not kidding.
Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli. Every weekday starting at 2 on WICC 600 and 95.9. the voice of Connecticut.
Frank Pepe Pizzeria, celebrating 100 years of Beats.
My grandfather, Frank Pepe, didn't just create Beats. He created a gathering place that our family is still proud to share to this day. My mother and aunt built on his dream. Today, my siblings, cousins, and I are honored to continue the tradition. Pepe's has always been about family, ours and the generations of families who gather at our tables.
Frank Pepe Pizzeria, passionate about pizza since 1925. Visit your local Pepe's today.
Goodwin University is hosting a business and manufacturing career fair on Tuesday, April 1st from 4 to 6:30 p.m. at 3 Pent Road in East Hartford. Connect with employers who are ready to onboard talent like yours. Don't forget to bring your resume for the opportunity to participate in on-the-spot interviews. Interested in attending Goodwin University's Business and Manufacturing Career Fair on April 1st? Register today at goodwin.edu/career services. Walk-ins welcome. We'll see you there.
Back to the news and talk. Thanks to Smart MLS. Smart sellers ask, is my home on Smart MLS? The voice of Connecticut. WICC 695.9. It's Melissa in the morning.
He'd been locked in that room since he was 11. He was given 2 cups of water per day. He'd been locked in there since 4th grade.
You're hearing just a snippet of what police have revealed in the investigation about the victim, who is now 32 years old and had been enduring prolonged abuse, starvation, severe neglect, and inhumane treatment. This is the case out of Waterbury that broke earlier this month. And Kimberly Sullivan, who is the stepmother in this case, is facing multiple charges, including assault and kidnapping. And while her attorney says that she is innocent, denying the allegations, police say, regardless of who did this to this man, he is, again, a 32-year-old man weighing about 68 pounds and had to set the house on fire in order to escape what he called his own living hell. So I want to ask how you kind of move forward. What sort of treatment could somebody go through in order to move in some sort of positive direction from this type of trauma? And so we have Dr. Tobias Wasser here with us from Hartford Healthcare. And again, I know we can't speak to the specifics of this case, Dr. Wasser, but give us just kind of a general idea of what sort of treatment options are available to somebody who goes through such severe trauma like this.
Yeah, so the treatment options for someone who's been through severe trauma depend certainly on the kind of trauma they've endured and the degree of the symptoms that they're experiencing. So the most well-known disorder that people suffer from following a severe traumatic event or series of traumatic events is called post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. I think this is something that people are somewhat commonly aware of. And this involves a constellation of symptoms after someone's either been exposed to or witnessed a potentially life-threatening event, and they begin to have what we call re-experiencing symptoms. So they will have nightmares or flashbacks of the event. They may become highly anxious in public settings. They become what we call hypervigilant, meaning like extremely aware of their surroundings and worried that danger is around any corner. It can significantly impact their mood, cause them to be depressed, even suicidal. So the treatment that we're going to offer them is going to really be focused on the nature of their symptoms. And it's important to remember that not everyone who goes through horrible trauma experiences PTSD, but many do. And so we're going to target our treatments based on what their particular experience and symptoms are.
Dr. Wasser, do you ever utilize EMDR therapy, the eye movement therapy? I know that's used a lot for PTSD, for the military, and for like law enforcement firefighters.
Yeah, so there's a few different kinds of psychotherapy so that are specific for post-traumatic stress disorder. So psychotherapy is what's commonly thought of as just therapy or talk therapy. It's engaging with either an individual or in a group format, trying to work through the traumatic symptoms, develop trust again with a safe individual and the therapist, and then use particular techniques in working through those issues to try to help you process what occurred. So the three most common, one is, as you said, EMDR. That stands for eye movement and desensitization and realization. And so it's a particular mode of therapy where there's a belief that having the person engage in specific eye movements while they're thinking about these traumatic events sort of unlocks an ability in their brain to process these things differently. It is something that's commonly used in combat veterans. Another is called cognitive processing therapy. This is, again, is a long-term psychotherapy where the person learns to talk about what happened, journals about what happened, and with the idea that if we can talk about what happened with detached from the emotionality of it with somebody else who can help us recognize that what happened to the individual wasn't their fault, that this wasn't something that they deserved, it can help them to move forward. The last is called prolonged exposure therapy, which is sort of similar to the cognitive processing therapy I just said, but it involves really going very deeply, step by step through the trauma as a way of trying to uncouple the horrible emotional reactions the person understandably has from the event themselves.
Dr. Wasser, I want to thank you so much for even outlining this, giving us a little bit of perspective into, what is the next step. And again, we can't speak to every case is not cookie cutter, right? I mean, they're not all going to be the same, but even just getting an idea of what next steps could be in place for somebody who goes through such trauma of this nature. And so I want to thank you so much for what you do, Chair of Psychiatry and Behavioral Health for Hartford Healthcare's Fairfield region, but also for taking the time to talk through it this today on WICC. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Melissa in the Morning.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Got a two-car crash northbound on the Turnpike in Milford, 40 to 41. Left lane is closed. That's Milford northbound. Southbound, pretty heavy in Bridgeport, Westport to Norwalk. 9 to exit 6 in Stamford. Parkway South, that's heavy in Fairfield and Westport. Very slow pass, 41 to Stamford. And a long, slow ride on Route 8 this morning from Derby right through Shelton. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
A wet start to the work week. Any rain over to showers by this afternoon after a heavier rain early this morning. We'll have a high in the upper 50s. Showers end this evening, clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Tomorrow is sunny with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Inflation is at a 40-year all-time high, and with a recession looming, having an airtight plan is essential. Understanding your plan and how your money is working for you, not against you, is key.
It comes down to education. Knowledge is power. In this situation, when people get to that point, they understand what they're doing and they get to enjoy their retirement stress-free.
Tune in to Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon every Saturday morning at 8, right here on WICC 600.
Are you ready to make a difference? In Connecticut, over 3,000 children are in foster care, newborns to teenagers, and there's not enough licensed foster families to support them. These children are waiting for a family just like yours. Contact Annie C. Courtney Foundation and learn how to become a foster parent. Your temporary commitment brings lasting, positive change to a child's life. Contact Annie C. Courtney Foundation at annec.org and learn how you can become a foster parent. Be the change for a child today. annec.org.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow, provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains Tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at your local CVS.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan. Last year, more consumers switched to Chevrolet than any other automotive brand. Why? With more standard passive and active safety features than any other brand, plus easy-to-use technology like wireless Apple CarPlay, Chevy simply builds in more value. And who doesn't love getting more for their money? With fresh inventory arriving daily, see for yourself at Carl Chevrolet, 261 Elm Street in New Canaan, or online at carlchevy.com.
When you've been in a car accident, call the Piquel Law Firm because results matter. When you've been injured, call the Piquel Law Firm because results matter. When you've suffered medical malpractice, call the Piquel Law Firm because results matter.
It's Alan Piquel here. At the Piquel Law Firm, we take pride in getting top monetary results and getting your case resolved quickly so you get the results that matter. Schedule a free consultation at PICKELlaw.com because results matter.
When disaster strikes, whether it's a house fire, furnace malfunction, or burst pipes, trust me, Felicia, the owner of Robin Hood Adjusters, to be your advocate. With over a decade of experience, I specialize in increasing the settlement value of your insurance claim and shielding you from unethical lowball offers by the insurance giants. Visit RobinHoodAdjustersCT.com and see how I can help protect your interests and get you the compensation you deserve. At Robin Hood Adjusters, I work for you.
WICC, the voice of Connecticut. WICC Bridgeport, WFOX Southport, WEBE HD2 Westport, WPLR HD2 New Haven, locally owned by Connoisseur Media.
This is the CBS World News Roundup, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. We begin in Ukraine and a plan by Presidents Trump and Putin to speak on ending the 3-year-old war there. Mr. Trump told reporters on Air Force One last night.
We'll be talking about land. It's a lot of land. It's a lot different than it was before the war, as you know. And we'll be talking about land. We'll be talking about power plants.
Two men confirmed they'll have a discussion tomorrow. Correspondent Torian Small.
This is a big point of contention for Democratic lawmakers on the Hill, with concerns that President Trump is putting the onus on Ukraine to concede these unilateral concessions to President Putin.
The Trump administration is in a standoff with a federal judge after defying his orders and sending more than 200 Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador. The ACLU's lead lawyer, Lee Gallant, has gone to court over use of the 1812 Alien Enemies Act.
It's as unprecedented as it is lawless. The law is crystal clear that it can only be used in a declared war.
At least 40 people across 7 states were killed in severe storms in the South and Midwest over the weekend. 9-year-old Alea Contreras convinced her family to get out of their home in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, before it was slammed by a tornado. She spoke with CBS's Jason Allen.
You feel pretty lucky that something inside you this time told you to leave?
Yeah, we wouldn't be alive.
A 22-year-old American, believed to be the last to see a missing University of Pittsburgh student on spring break, insists he's not sure if she ever got out of the water before she disappeared 11 days ago. CBS's Manuel Bojorquez from Punta Cana.
A family attorney for Joshua Ribbs says that authorities here in the Dominican Republic have confiscated his passport and that he has been confined to a hotel as they continue to investigate.
A once popular fast fashion chain is going belly up for good.
Forever 21 may not be eternal, as the retailer's operating company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. That means its 350 stores in the U.S. will conduct liquidation sales. Forever 21 also filed for bankruptcy in 2019, but a group of investors stepped in. The company has fought against competition from online entities like Amazon and the closing of malls. Wendy Gillette, CBS News.
A delivery driver in California has been awarded $50 million after he was seriously burned by a Starbucks venti-sized tea that spilled in his lap. His attorney says Michael Garcia underwent skin grafts and other procedures.
It's a reasonable verdict. It's justified. This injury changed Michael's life. It was gross negligence.
S&P futures are down 11. This is CBS News.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat. Visit Progressive.com.
WICC 695.9. Connecticut Lottery Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Both U.S. senators from Connecticut voted against the funding bill that was passed by the Senate on Friday. Senators Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy opposed the measure that continues funding the U.S. government through September 30th. Blumenthal says the Republican bill slashes billions of dollars from community budgets for police officers, firefighters, and teachers, and for critical research. Murphy says that this bill makes changes to the law that will make it easier for President Trump to implement his plans to destroy the country. Governor Ned Lamont is worried that cuts by the Trump administration could lead to a fiscal crisis in Connecticut. Lamont says the state's budget should be in good shape for the rest of the current fiscal year ending June 30th. However, the governor also says the uncertainty over huge spending cuts ordered by the Trump administration could lead to issues crafting the upcoming 2-year budget package. The upcoming class of the Bridgeport Police Academy has been paused over allegations of misconduct. State regulators reportedly ordered the halt to the city's plan for a new class of cadets in June after anonymous complaints of sexual misconduct at the academy. The Police Officer Standards and Training Council gave no specific reason publicly for the decision reached last week. However, Bridgeport Police Chief Roderick Porter has indicated that it involved allegations of sexual misconduct. The UConn men and women's basketball teams have received their NCAA tournament assignments. The UConn men's team received an at-large bid as an 8 seed in the West region and will play a first-round game against Oklahoma Friday night. The UConn women are a 2 seed in the Spokane 4 region and will host the first 2 rounds at Gamble Pavilion in Stores. The Huskies open the tournament against 15 seed Arkansas State on Saturday. For the Voice of Connecticut WICC, I'm John Kamal.
And your news is sponsored by Kitchen Corner, and that is our headquarters for all your baking and cooking needs. It offers expert knife sharpening as well. Just call 203-374-1118 or go online to kitchen-corner.com. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Melissa in the Morning.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now traffic.
Left lane is out in Milford northbound on the Connecticut Turnpike. That is a 2-car crash in Milford between 40-41. Southbound, very heavy. Bridgeport through Fairfield. Westport's 18 into Norwalk. Darien through Stamford. Parkway southbound is busy. Westport's 41 right into Stamford. A lot of volume, too, in Derby and Shelton southbound on Route 8. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Pack the umbrella. It will be a wet morning. Any rain ending as showers later this afternoon. It will be a mild day with a high in the upper 50s. Any showers end this evening. Clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
This is Melissa for Stanford Health. When it comes to heart and vascular care, we want the best. And some of the best heart care in the world is right here at Stanford Health, starting with their partnership with Columbia University Irving Medical Center. And Stanford Health isn't just Lower Fairfield County's only open heart surgery program. They're its most extensive cardiac program. Period. World-class heart and vascular care is closer to home at Stanford Health. For more, visit stanfordhealth.org/heart.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like fences. A house with a big yard and a white picket fence was always the dream. But then you saw the price to install a fence and you're wondering if the color is driving the price up. Nobody ever dreams of a beige or a gray picket fence, right? So maybe those fences are cheaper. But no, they're not. Then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds and make all your dreams of a fence come true. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
This is where Trumbull starts the day. Melissa in the Morning on WICC 600 and 95.9, the Voice of Connecticut.
We have our eyes on local elections. And let me just say, having a special election in April is sort of odd, right? Because you're thinking, it's usually in November. But we've had sort of a series of events go on, especially for Shelton. So let's just backtrack really quickly. He is now a state senator, but Jason Perillo was previously in the 113th district holding the state representative seat for quite some time. He then moved up to a senator seat, but now his seat is vacated. And so next month there's going to be a special election, and we are meeting the Republican candidate who is vying for his seat. Amy Romano joins us in studio. Hey, Amy, welcome to WICC.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's so exciting to be here today.
I'm excited to have you.
Studio,
right?
So this is great. It's
here
exciting.
Are my digs. I'm glad to have you here. It's
exciting.
Fantastic. So, Amy, let's start by who you are. It's interesting because Amy and I were kind of talking off the air, and you were saying that a lot of people recognize your voice. Why is that? What have been some of the roles you've been holding in Shelton?
Right. So, well, I'll start with, of course, I'm a mom of 3 boys. I'm married. I have 3 boys. My oldest is in his master's program, actually, for teaching.
Wow.
So he's an intern right in our school district here in Shelton. So we love our town. My middle child is a senior at Shelton High. He's graduating this year, so it's really exciting for us.
Oh, that's
and then
awesome.
I still have a 12-year-old who's at the intermediate school. My kids are 5 years apart. So 3 boys keeps us busy.
Yeah.
I'm a small business owner in town. We've been here for about over 20 years. I was born and raised in Connecticut, and we moved to about 20 years ago and started our family here in Shelton.
That's amazing.
And yes, about my voice, of course, people, often hear me throughout the town. I've been on the Board of Education for about 6 years now. I've been chairman in my last term here, I've been chairman. So besides even before Board of Ed, I've always volunteered my time in the community. Whether it was through the schools, I'd go in and just, helping out and being room mom. I would do junior achievement. We would go in and, I would teach kids about, what it's like to be an entrepreneur. They would have me come in as a business owner and be like, Amy, come in and help. And I would show them, AutoCAD drawings. I taught kids how to build models to scale. Like, I've always been a part of it. So about 6 years ago, when people approached me to say, you should run for Board of Ed. And I was like, a little terrified at first, but then they were like, but we need you. We know that you are, deeply connected to this community, and having kids that are 5 years apart is really interesting, because if you just had, say, 2 kids 2 years apart, you move through that school system and you are just, say, with that same group of people, right, all the way through. Mm-hmm. But when you have kids 5 years apart, you start meeting more and more people. Mm-hmm. I mean, I spent 15 years of my life at the same elementary school.
Right.
Right? Okay.
Because you're like, once
years.
one graduated, another one just started.
Kept coming in. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never leaving this school. But in turn, you meet so many people, right? And you start connecting to those people, whether it was through sports or just, all different activities. My older boys were 3 sport athletes. So you met someone from lacrosse to football to baseball. My little one started some soccer, anything and everything. You started meeting people, through those connections. So yes, sometimes people often will stop me and say, I recognize your voice because of board meetings, and they hear it online. They're watching the videos.
Well, and what a time to have somebody who is deeply connected to the education system. Yes. I mean, and what I think is interesting, so funny enough, so I was one of 5 kids, but we, there's just so many of us that at one time, it's like one of the standing jokes that my mother was in 5 different school systems at one time because we were stretched from high school to elementary. Right. So same kind of thing, but it gave such perspective of, hey, this is what's going on at the high school level versus the middle versus the elementary.
Absolutely.
And I mean, with the Board of Ed, I think I'm curious to hear what you feel. I mean, let's just dive right into with Shelton, what you feel are some of the things that need to be focused on and that you could, really help in if you were the next state rep for the 113th district.
Right. Well, right now, of course, in Shelton and throughout Connecticut, of course, everyone is concerned with the high cost of living. The affordability is huge. I know that this is echoing everywhere for everyone. We have a lot of senior citizens in town. They're suffering. Shelton is known for their low taxes, but besides we're keeping that stable in town. But, we have the inflation of high, energy costs going on right now. The grocery bills, we're all suffering, whether it was a senior citizen or a single mom or a family. It doesn't matter. I mean, the public benefits on my utility bill charge is over $200 a month. You're not expecting that every month. It's something hard to budget for. And so when I feel that, that when I go to Hartford, because I know I'm going to get there, I'm going to be there. And I'm going to ensure that we fight for those things up in Hartford, right? We need to go up there and, shake up the Democrats and say enough with these public benefits, because there's been proposals on the table. Even just last week, we've been making proposals since January, and they're not doing anything about it. They are shooting it down. They have no desire for change. Okay. So that is something that, while I am going to be in the minority, okay, but that's okay, because I have a team of people behind me. A team of people that have the same values. And we're going to go in there and we're going to fight, and we're going to go to them and say, enough is enough. It's time. The people have spoken. They have come out in droves, protesting, Facebook groups. We're tired of it. Voters are smart. They're smart. They're tired of all of this. And it's time for a change.
So, and we're talking to Amy Romano, who is the Republican candidate who is running for the state rep seat, which would be representing Shelton. It was previously held for a long time by Jason Perillo, who is now a state senator. Are there things that Jason started that you would like to continue on with, or things that you align with, or maybe things that you would do differently? Just curious.
Well, I know that Jason and I have the same values. So I know that he trusts me. He endorsed me. That I know he knows that I'm going to continue that same values. But of course, being on the Board of Education, for 6 years, I do have that passion for education. And I know what Shelton needs for education.
What does Shelton need, would you say?
Yeah. So, of course, I'm sure you hear out there the special education costs are are out of control. Again, the Republicans and the Democrats have been fighting about the special education for a long time. But even just recently, the Republicans went in and said, hey, listen, I proposed $100 million. And the Democrats said no. Okay, so they went back and forth arguing, and we've settled on $40 million. But again, the Republicans are the ones that are out there fighting for this. Okay, now $40 million, out of that $40 million coming down, Shelton is receiving about $411,000. That is not enough, Melissa. Okay, not enough. If you look at my budget right now for Shelton, we're negative. We're proposed. Like, say we forecast out.
Sure.
We forecast out, and we're around $200,000 negative. Okay, so the 400, sure, I could break even, but guess what, Melissa? I'm going to use up every last dime of that 400,000. I think that people really just don't understand what is happening in special ed. We have 20% of our population, put it that way, 20% of our population in the school district have either an IEP or outplace. That's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
A lot of kids need help, and it's a public education system. We have to supply for all.
Yeah.
Okay, but what happens is it's really simple. This is what's broke about the system. Say someone moves in, we're just going to say from Fairfield, okay? The child comes over, they have an IEP. Whether it's for speech and language they need help with, or a reading disability, or an actual outplacement, okay? Shelton has to immediately take that onto their budget. Now, we have a set budget. We don't have a savings account. Imagine it's a person that's living paycheck to paycheck.
Right, which a lot of people are.
What they are. That is what the school system is. We live paycheck to paycheck. That is there. Now, when you have this person move in or they need these services, we can't deny those services.
Right.
We have to do it right away. Now, Fairfield, we'll just say, using Fairfield as an example, they're like, hey, I just went positive because that person left the system and they just had a positive, but we're negative. Now, how do you budget for that? What's going to happen is we're going to make cuts. And then now you are taking those cuts away from the other students. Okay. And that hurts.
Exactly.
It hurts.
And I think a lot of school districts this year felt the pain, especially because all the COVID money ran out, which was really put towards a lot of the schools. And we sort of were like, oh, we'll cross that bridge. But now we're at the bridge and we need to get there.
We're at the bridge.
Right.
And the costs are just too high. There's too many kids coming in. We have to actually create another pre-K classroom again for next year because the raising rates of autism coming in it's actually scary. It's mind-boggling. These students are coming in from birth to 3 saying they need services and we have to provide that. And that is fine, but we need help. So it's not just about throwing money at something because, money doesn't always solve every issue.
Right.
It's also about reforming, looking at these policies and saying,
what's working and what's not.
What is working? And sometimes I just wonder if Hartford even understands that. They should come down to Shelton and look at our budget this season and come in and see what we propose to the city of Shelton and see what we're doing. Because we are truly trying to make change. We know that we're not getting the funding, that we go out, we hired a new director of special ed. Okay, she's fabulous. We've been revamping our program. We even started a new alternative high school. Okay. But we invested our taxpayer dollars into that to try to keep our kids into the community instead of outplacing. But we can't, not all of them can be here in Shelton. Some do truly have to be out there.
Right.
And we understand that. But the burden just can't always be on the taxpayers.
So, Amy Romano, hold on one second. We're going to come back and talk more about your run and what you would like to do if elected into the state rep seat. We're going to be right back.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now traffic.
Left lane is out in Milford northbound on the Connecticut Turnpike. That is a 2-car crash in Milford between 4041 southbound. Very heavy. Bridgeport through Fairfield. Westport's 18 into Norwalk. Darien through Stamford. Parkway southbound is busy. Westport's 41 right into Stamford. A lot of volume, too, in Derby and Shelton southbound on Route 8. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
A wet start to the work week. Any rain over to showers by this afternoon after a heavier rain early this morning. We'll have a high in the upper 50s. Showers end this evening, clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Tomorrow is sunny with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
There's so many in our community who make a positive impact, from innovators and leaders to local businesses and nonprofits. They do so much for Connecticut. We will recognize them with the WICC Impact Awards, and we need your help. Submit your nominations now across 6 categories at voiceofct.com. Then join us on May 14th at Fasano's Four Seasons in Stratford as we recognize your nominees. Honor those who've helped to make Connecticut better with the WICC Impact Awards.
Sell your home smoothly when you call Car Beauty. Go to carbeautyrealestate.com.
Hey y'all, it's your boy Gary LaVox of Rascal Flats, and it's true, we are hitting the road one more time next year, and I love traveling through Connecticut. I'm looking so forward to our show coming up in Uncasville. There are so many amazing folks there, like my friend Jonathan Carbeauty of Carbeauty & Company Realtors. If you're thinking about selling your home, you need to talk to John and his team. And hey, you can find out what your home is worth in less than 30 seconds. Just go to Carbeauty & Company Realtors website and click What's My Home Worth? It's free, it's easy, and we'll get you moving on. When you need an agent you can trust, and we'll give you the most selling options, that's Jonathan Carbeauty and Carbeauty & Company Realtors. And remember,
Sell your home smoothly when you call Car Beauty. Go to carbeautyrealestate.com.
Now you can find out who's under the helmet and behind the jersey with the Rudin Report Athlete Profile. High school sports are made great by the student athletes who play them. Check out the High School Athlete Profile, sponsored by BMW of Darien at therudinreport.com.
Hello, Fairfield County. You're invited to come and enjoy the R.D. Cinto free Community Shakespeare event series at R.D. Cinto in Shelton. Nights with Shakespeare features a dramatic weekly play reading of Twelfth Night with actor Leo Schaff. Nights with Shakespeare is free and open to the public. It's every Tuesday at 6:30, now through April 29th, at the Cinto Auditorium at 3 Corporate Drive in Shelton. Learn more and attend. Go to nightswithshakespeare.com for more information.
Service, repair, or replace your AC or heating system. Go to VassoPHAC.com. Steve Vasso Plumbing, Heating, and AC. Everything is better with Vasso. VassoPHAC.com.
She gives you every side of the story. Melissa in the Morning on the Voice of Connecticut. WICC 695.9.
We have a special election next month to fill the state representative seat for the 113th district. That is Shelton. So Shelton voters, I hope you are listening. We had the Democratic candidate on the show last week. You can go back, listen to that podcast. Today, we've got the Republican candidate here, Amy Romano, who is in studio. So obviously education, a huge passion of yours. Amy, let's also talk about some of the other matters for who could be your constituents if you're voted into this seat. Housing seems to be a big problem as well in Shelton. Talk a little bit about that and how you'd address it.
Housing, absolutely. Yeah. We have definitely an affordable housing problem, again, in Shelton, but statewide. Okay. The state of Connecticut actually did come down, Department of Housing came down to Shelton about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Oh. They came down and did a little seminar to the town, and different people came in. I was one of them. I did go in and listen because it is definitely, 830G. Everybody hears about the affordable housing and it's very contentious in town. So I did stand up and speak. Okay. And
that checks.
Yeah. But I basically stood up and said, listen, we all understand the need of affordable housing. We do. We know like it's someone that even just a teacher qualifies for something like that. It's you don't have to, it's not necessarily Section 8. People get scared of that. And there is definitely a need that everything, a one bedroom apartment is like $2,000 a month right now.
Yeah, it's
so
insane.
we all need it. But I stood up saying the elephant in the room is that everybody was, waiting to talk about is the problem that they could take this and put it wherever they want. Okay. And that is the fear. Okay. And that what is happening, this law is outdated. It's broken. Okay. It was meant to do something great. It absolutely was meant to do something great. But now they need to go back in, look at this law again, and give the power back to the local zoning, enforcements to say, we could decide where this belongs, right? And we absolutely do need affordable housing. We do, but in Shelton here, we have areas that we would like our apartment buildings to be. Okay. We would like our communities to be, and we could make those affordable housing, buildings. The developers are absolutely proposing some of those things. But then what happens is they're also trying to put it in areas that it doesn't necessarily belong. And we don't want that. Okay. But if they just give that, if they just give us the control to decide where it belongs, then I think it would go well.
What about actually also creating complexes that are more heavily affordable? I mean, the other problem with 830G seems to be that these huge complexes pop up and there's 100 units, but 8 of them are affordable.
Absolutely.
So it really isn't serving the general population.
It's not. And they actually spoke about that the other day, that the developers are just really using it just to try to get through zoning because something was denied. But what the developers need to understand is that there are programs through the state of Connecticut, and that if you go and apply for a grant, okay, that you're going to get grant money if it qualifies for certain criteria. So the Department of Housing doesn't want the building in the middle of an R1 zone on it, in 2-acre, zoning areas. They do want them closer to train stations, closer to bus stations,
right.
Okay? So that if the developers went on and looked at those programs, there's different incentives to get different levels of grant financing. It's definitely really competitive. But you could say, okay, I'm near a train station, I get so many points. I'm near a bus line, I get so many points. I'm near, I'm in an urban area, I get so many points, okay? And then that tallies up and you get grant money that you don't even necessarily have to pay back for 40 years.
Wow.
Okay. So, but the developers need to promote that more. And the developers need to look at that to say, wow, look at these incentives. And then, but you have to qualify for those certain areas. So now the developer's saying, okay, wait, if I put it near that train station, I'm going to get this money. If I put it near the bus line, I'm going to get that money.
Do you feel like they'd understand that better, though, Amy Romano, if they were also working closer with the towns?
Well, yes, but also Department of Housing needs to promote that more as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's made clear to the general population.
It's not necessarily made clear to the general population.
Because honestly, that's news to me.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
So there is absolutely, it's called one of their CHAMP financing. So they do rounds of it every year. And again, but the fact that they're giving you money to put towards those areas are key little signals that that's where they want these projects, right? So they're saying, we're going to give you the money if you put them in those areas. Okay. So again, they need to, but they're telling you that to get the money, but then get rid of the other section then of the law.
Right.
That says we can't put it in the middle of compromise.
Right.
So again, you need to go back. We need to look at it. It's outdated. It was back in the 80s that this was done, and it needs to be revamped.
Yeah.
And we need to get that out there on saying, look at this financing structures, look at these things that you could do, and put them in these areas.
Well, Amy Romano, I know we could go on about so many
Absolutely.
topics, and I would love to do that. And certainly as we get closer and closer to the election in April, I'm sure I'm going to be connecting with you and your opponent many times on the show. I want to thank you so much for taking this next step and running. And certainly, as I mentioned, we're going to continue to follow the race very closely and let people know it is so important people go out and vote. So if you are a Shelton constituent, this matters to you. Certainly, Amy Romano, thank you so much. Do you have a website or anything if people want more information?
We do. I have a Facebook page, that everybody could find me on Facebook, Instagram, websites. It's all out there.
All right.
They could Google me and they're going to find me.
Love that. Amy Romano, thank you so much, not only for coming on the show, but coming in studio. It's great to meet you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, too.
All right. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Melissa in the Morning.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Slow on Route 8 southbound. Earlier accident in Seymour has been cleared. Still pretty busy, though, coming out of Ansonia through Derby, southbound on the Parkway, just after Route 7 in Norwalk. It is very heavy approaching Stamford. Northbound on the Turnpike, really slow past the Milford Connector, heading into 4041. That's a left lane 2-car crash. That is still in the midst of being cleared. Slow southbound in Bridgeport, Westport to Norwalk, and also Stamford. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes. on WICC.
A wet start to the work week. Any rain over to showers by this afternoon after a heavier rain early this morning. We'll have a high in the upper 50s. Showers end this evening, clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Tomorrow is sunny with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Discover the finest flooring in Southern Connecticut at Courtesy Carpet. With over 50 years experience, we've got your flooring needs covered. From intricate area rugs, durable vinyl and laminate to elegant stair runners. Shop anywhere, but make sure to see us before you buy. Visit courtesycarpet.com to explore our extensive selection. Visit Ellen, Jay, and the team at Courtesy Carpet, Route 111 in Monroe. Trust us, the experts in quality flooring. Because at Courtesy Carpet, your satisfaction is our courtesy.
Professor, how did you crack where these big prizes come from on the multiplier scratch tickets?
Greta and I had a lot of coffee.
We discovered the prizes jumped by 5, 20, 50, and even 100 times.
$200,000 in a single scratch.
Professor, so the big question, who solved it?
I did.
Play the new multiplier scratch tickets from the Connecticut Lottery. Multiply your wins and maybe enjoy your own eureka moment.
Overall odds by game: 5x 1 in 4.25, 20x 1 in 4.06, 50x 1 in 3.72, 100x 1 in 3.55. Must be 18 or older. Problem gambling helpline. Call 888-789-7777.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
This is WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
CBS News Brief. President Trump says he will speak with President Vladimir Putin of Russia tomorrow.
See if we have something to announce maybe by Tuesday. I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday. And a lot of work's been done over the weekend.
At least 40 people are dead as storms head east. It was all due to everything from tornadoes to wildfires. CBS's Dave Malkoff.
There are some tornadoes in this region that were on the ground an estimated 70 miles. There was one here in Mississippi that was on the ground for at least 51 miles.
Drone swarms inside the U.S. could be spying, and the ability to detect and track them is lagging. That's what Glenn Van Herk says, the former Joint Commander of North American Aerospace Defense Command and U.S. Northern Command, who was on 60 Minutes.
It's a capability gap. Certainly, they can come and go from any direction. The FBI is looking at potential options, but they don't have an answer right now.
CBS News Brief. I'm Matt Piper.
WICC 695.9, Connecticut Lottery Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Today is St. Patrick's Day, and there were multiple parades this past weekend. State Police Trooper Dan Hill spoke with WICC this morning about how safe Connecticut drivers were on the roads.
I think the most important thing is there was no fatal or serious injury accidents this weekend, which I'm very, very happy to report. However, we had 30 DUIs over the course from Friday to today. We had over 200 accidents with no injuries, 207 accidents with no injuries, and 21 accidents with minor injuries.
Trooper Hill also pointed out that with today being the day of the holiday, state and local police will be on the lookout for impaired drivers and urges everyone to celebrate responsibly. Both U.S. senators from Connecticut voted against the funding bill that was passed by the Senate on Friday. Senators Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy opposed the measure that continues funding the U.S. government through September 30th. Blumenthal says the Republican bill slashes billions of dollars from community budgets for police officers, firefighters, and teachers, and for critical research. Murphy says that this bill makes changes to the law that will make it easier for President Trump to implement his plans to destroy the country. Governor Ned Lamont is worried that cuts by the Trump administration could lead to a fiscal crisis in Connecticut. Lamont says the state's budget should be in good shape for the rest of the current fiscal year, ending June 30th. However, the governor also says the uncertainty over huge spending cuts ordered by the Trump administration could lead to issues crafting the upcoming two-year budget package. Connecticut Congressman John Larson also had harsh words for the administration, particularly regarding Elon Musk, after the tech billionaire failed to appear at a hearing regarding the Department of Government Efficiency.
I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so eminent, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security.
Frustrations with the president aren't limited to elected officials either. 100 people gathered on West Main Street in Stamford yesterday to protest actions taken by Trump, including but not limited to Elon Musk's involvement. The protest was peaceful and was one of several that took place across the country, with many others taking place at Tesla showrooms. News 12 reported that another protest was scheduled for Saturday, April 5th, in front of the Stamford government building. The upcoming class of the Bridgeport Police Academy has been paused over allegations of misconduct. State regulators reportedly ordered the halt to the city's plan for a new class of cadets in June after anonymous complaints of sexual misconduct at the academy. The Police Officer Standards and Training Council gave no specific reason publicly for the decision reached last week. However, Bridgeport Police Chief Roderick Porter has indicated that it involved allegations of sexual misconduct. Visitors of Great Island in Darien will soon have more freedom to explore with their dogs. The town board of selectmen unanimously agreed to allow dogs off the paths on Great Island starting June 1st. The presence of dogs on the property has been a matter of debate in town for some time. TV 79 in Darien attended a Parks and Rec meeting this past fall where a townwide survey was cited about residents' concerns.
The first one is concern about ecology and ecologically sensitive areas and the impact that dogs can have on that. The second is a water quality issue because waste is a reality. And then finally, there are people who just say that they're afraid of dogs.
Pet owners will have to keep dogs on a leash while on property and will need to pick up after them too. A basketball coach at Foreign High School in Milford has been placed on leave after being arrested for an incident at practice last month. Foreign JV basketball coach Joe Meade allegedly shoved a player on his team, swearing at him in front of the rest of the team on February 19th. Meade is due in Milford Superior Court on March 28th. The UConn men and women's basketball teams have received their NCAA tournament assignments. The UConn men's team received an at-large bid as an 8 seed in the West region and will play a first-round game against Oklahoma Friday night. The UConn women are a 2 seed in the Spokane 4 region and will host the first 2 rounds at Gamble Pavilion in Stores. The Huskies open the tournament against 15 seed Arkansas State on Saturday. Yale's men's team also clinched a spot as a 13 seed facing Texas A&M on Thursday, and Fairfield University women's team, the number 12 seed, is set to face Kansas State Friday. For the Voice of Connecticut WICC, I'm John Kamal.
And your news is sponsored by Bridgelight Financial Advisors. Attend Bridgelight Financial's taxes and retirement events tomorrow, March 18th, and on Thursday, March 20th at El Palio in Shelton. This is a free workshop discussing real tax saving strategies. Go to bridgelightadvisors.com in order to register. Interestingly enough, up in Hartford today, there is going to be a public hearing in front of the Judiciary Committee regarding public safety policy bills. And this is really looking at a lot of different things, but let's dive into just in general our violent crime rates in Connecticut and what we can certainly talk about from a lawmaker perspective. But talking to one of our law enforcement experts on the show, Jim Perez for Crime on the Mind, he's going to weigh in on the conversation next on Melissa in the Morning.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Okay, we still have delays northbound on the Connecticut Turnpike as you drive through Milford. That's because of an earlier accident between exits 40 and 41. Delays are still residual. Southbound on the Turnpike, it's heavy in Bridgeport. And then Westport, Saugatuck 17 through Norwalk. Lots of volume in Stamford now. Slow on the Parkway southbound through Trumbull. And then Route 7 in Norwalk through Stamford. Delays in Derby and Shelton on Route 8 southbound. 84 westbound, exit 9. We have a 2-car crash that is blocking the left lane, backed up from Sandy Hook. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Pack the umbrella. It will be a wet morning. Any rain ending as showers later this afternoon. It will be a mild day with a high in the upper 50s. Any showers end this evening. Clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Join us at Maritime Chevrolet of Fairfield, where our new Equinox EV all-wheel drive, low-mileage leases for only $279 per month with your $3,000 down. Charge ahead with confidence, an estimated 315 miles of range, $279 per month, and save on future gas and maintenance expenses. Only at MaritimeChevy.com.
Stock number 24496E. $3,000 down payment required. $10K per year. Lease primary lender most approved. Excludes tax, reg, and Gaylor conveyance fee of $7.99.
Ramadan Mubarak, from the AB's Falafel family to yours. Life's busier and crazier than ever, and nothing is more disappointing than a lousy meal. But you'll always have a great meal at family-owned AB's Falafel. AB's Falafel is consistently voted best Middle Eastern food in Connecticut. At AB's, you'll enjoy the freshest and most flavorful falafel, kebabs, salads, and shawarma, all made with care from family recipes. From the AB's Falafel family to yours. Ramadan Mubarak, 10 Broadway Road, Trumbull, and absfalafel.com.
It's time for Crime on the Mind with crime prevention expert, retired Fairfield Police Lieutenant Jim Perez. Now on Melissa in the Morning, WICC 600 and 95.9, the voice of Connecticut.
Sometimes I think Jim and we share one brain, because happening this week, there's going to be a public hearing in the Judiciary Committee. In fact, it's for public safety policy bills. And you could certainly weigh in on the conversation, certainly talk to your state reps and your state senators about what you would like to see to make Connecticut safer. And what's sometimes infuriating, Jim and I have talked about this before, is when you look at our crime statistics, Connecticut continues to be, quote unquote, one of the safest states in the country. And that is true. However, it doesn't mean that we are squeaky clean perfect and that people are not worried about types of crimes that happen in our state. So Jim is here, and I'd love to kind of go through this with you, Jim, especially ahead of today's hearing. What do you got when it comes to violent crime statistics?
Well, if you compare us to like the rest of the nation, right, we are extremely safe. But you're talking about the third smallest state. So we're followed by Delaware and then Rhode Island being the smallest state. So if you look at geographical areas, we're probably higher statistics than we see now, because, you'd have to, you could fit like 5 Connecticut's in certain states, right? Yeah. But in Connecticut, I got to tell you that we have seen a really notable decrease in crime, both violent and property crimes. And also the surprising thing is, I'm not that surprised, but I kind of am, is the fact that all the cities in Connecticut have actually seen a decrease in crime as compared to like 2023. Now, unfortunately, we don't compare in real time, right? Because it takes a while for statistics to be assembled and, criticized and then put together into like a final count. So it takes about a year and a half to do that. And a lot of agencies, both federal, state, and local, they're always like 2 years behind. However, there's a 4% reduction in overall crime between the years of 2021 and 2022. And property crime, stuff like, stealing something from a car or burglary or whatever, has also decreased in 2024. So as compared to 2023. So this is pretty cool, I think, in general. I think that people are starting to pay attention. People are being more responsive. And I think that the unique part of Connecticut is that people do care. And I've often said this, that the level of crime in any given community is directly correlated to the involvement of people, or how they hold their police accountable, or how they support their police, more important.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, Jim, because one of the parts of this bill says allowing police to pursue in certain instances when a felony has been suspected to have been committed. And so certainly that is something that, state Republicans are saying, look, we've really kind of let the pendulum swing in a totally different direction. Honestly, since about the 2020 time period. The George Floyd incident certainly was a big reason why we put the police accountability law into effect in Connecticut, and certainly has been brought up many, many times in the past. And when we talk about crime rates too, Jim, and this is something that you could certainly speak to, I think sometimes we make this big sort of overstatement, like you said, but there are pockets where we actually aren't doing so great. For example, we have a real issue. We've seen an uptick in DUIs. We've seen an uptick in wrong way driving. We've seen an uptick in some other major issues. I look at, I don't know if we're seeing the same with property crimes and things like that, but there are pockets that, sure, maybe we're doing better when it comes to murders, but in other areas, street takeovers is another one. I think we haven't quite figured out how to handle some of the other different crimes in our state, and sometimes we just lump it all together and say, overall, we're fine, so let's move on.
No. You cannot operate that way. In fact, you have to do the exact opposite. So research has shown, and we know this just in the police world, or criminal justice in general, but crime. So if you ignore small crimes, right, then that leads to bigger crime. Mm. So every time I'm doing like a security assessment somewhere, I always talk about, people will say to me, why are you putting in the report that we should remove this sticker from this sign? It's like so minuscule. But what they don't understand is that if you allow that sticker to be there, in about a week, you're going to find 3 or 4 stickers. Then before you know it, you're going to find taggers there that are tagging your building. So paying attention, it's kind of psychological in a way, but paying attention to the small crimes, and this is a notice to all police departments, really, because if you respond to the small crimes, right, or the small quality of life issues, you literally will help prevent bigger crimes that are in the future. And I think that's very important. And I think that's something that gets lost on us sometimes. We think, oh, let's just like you said, it's just street takeovers. But overall, we're doing good. We cannot rest on our laurels, not even for a second. It's a constant battle. We're constantly trying to, help support our police departments to be able to help us. And that's really what they're there for. They're there to help us. Mm-hmm. And so when we turn against them and we have laws and rules that go against them, what we're really saying is we really don't care about what society thinks. This is what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important that these legislatures get together and that they pass reasonable things. Listen, chasing a car, right, that involves a felon is extremely serious. These are dangerous people that really don't care about the safety of anyone. And by us allowing them to operate pretty much without the police having the ability to chase them, then we're just as guilty as everybody else when all those people get injured and killed. Mm. And I hope that people hear this, because if they do, they'll end up suing the state. And then if they do, they'll learn, because sometimes the only way we learn is through money, which is sad.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned money, Jim, and I want to talk to you about this when we come back. One of the parts of this bill actually looks at, adding more crimes to the list of crimes that a person would serve a longer sentence and probably more penalties. Money would be involved, certainly. I'd love to get your take on that as well. When we come back, we're talking to Jim Perez for Crime on the Mind, and there is a big public hearing happening up at the state capitol, and it has to do with a public safety policy bill. And you could certainly weigh in on the conversation and share testimony. This is in front of the Judiciary Committee. But we're getting perspective from Jim Perez, who served a very long time as a police officer in Fairfield, but is now a crime prevention expert in the state and somebody who comes on the show to give us this type of insight. So we're going to continue the conversation in just a moment. We'll be right back. I'm Melissa in the Morning.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Connecticut Turnpike is slow in Bridgeport, then Westport's 18 through Norwalk. A lot of slow go in Stamford, too. Northbound, we're still seeing residual delays heading in through Milford from an earlier accident. Busy in Trumbull, southbound on the Parkway. Then from New Canaan heading into Stamford. It is slow on Route 8 in Shelton. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Pack the umbrella. It will be a wet morning. Any rain ending as showers later this afternoon. It will be a mild day with a high in the upper 50s. Any showers end this evening. Clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
WICC is live and local in the afternoons. It's Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli. Weekdays from 2 to 6.
No surprise that a lot of people want answers in that alleged Waterbury abuse case, with reports now that signs were missed for years. And a national approval for Democrats now at an all-time low, but Senator Chris Murphy is worried about masculinity. No, I'm not kidding.
Connecticut Today with Paul Piselli. Every weekday starting at 2 on WICC 600 and 95.9. the voice of Connecticut.
Columbia Dental's Norwalk office is your go-to family dentist. They offer comprehensive care with general dentists and an oral surgeon. Conveniently located at 91 East Avenue, they're affiliated with the Columbia Implant Center in Manchester, operating 7 days a week, including holidays, to manage any dental emergency. With their in-house digital dental lab, they provide top-tier dental services, including prosthetics, ensuring all your needs are met. For more information, visit columbiadental.com and experience unparalleled dental care.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Estella's Pharma.
WICC 600 AM and 107.3 FM has your traffic covered. Listen weekdays for the most up-to-date traffic reports brought to you by Smart MLS. There's a smarter way to sell your home.
Back to the news and talk. Thanks to Smart MLS. Smart sellers ask, is my home on Smart MLS? The voice of Connecticut. WICC 695.9. It's Melissa in the morning.
A public safety policy bill is having a public hearing today in front of the Judiciary Committee, and there are several sections of the bill that are being highlighted by the state Senate Republican caucus, again, for public safety. And some of the things that are being highlighted, we're talking to our crime prevention expert about this morning. Jim Perez is here. So, Jim, another thing, we were just talking about, the money aspect. And when you said that, I thought to myself, yeah, unfortunately, sometimes it takes either money or more punishment to sort of get the message across. In this bill, it says they want to add 17 crimes. I don't have those crimes in front of me, but 17 crimes to the list of crimes that a person would serve 85% of their sentence before becoming eligible for parole, including crimes against children and the manufacturing and selling of fentanyl. What do you think about more punishments? Do you feel like we just leave a lot on the table?
Well, I do. I believe that we've left a lot on the table. We've gotten very soft over the years because of, you said, incidences that have happened in other parts of the country. But what we have to realize, and I think people fail to listen, any knee-jerk reaction is a bad thing. And unfortunately, when those incidents were happening, it didn't necessarily happen here, but we were directly we allowed ourselves to be directly impacted by it. We have a great state with great people that really care, that live in it. And we have police departments, and especially in the ones that I'm most familiar with in Fairfield County. But let me use Fairfield as an example, and I'm not propping them up against anybody else.
Well, that's where you worked. I mean, for people who don't know, Jim Perez was a lieutenant for a very long time. He served for the Fairfield Police Department for a long time. So that makes sense to use them as an example. Yeah. What you saw, sure.
No, it goes back. It's going to go back even further. When I first went to the police academy, right, just to give you an example, I didn't know what to expect, so I go in there, and every single week I had a different package that was being delivered from the police department, right? And it involved either a uniform part or a belt or gun belt or whatever. And I started to quickly learn that there's some towns, because, when you're in the police academy, you're there with people from all over the state. You graduate together, you become kind of lifelong friends, actually. But it was at that point that I started to realize the difference between Fairfield and other departments. And if you want to compare Fairfield Police, and I'm not being biased. I'm just kind of saying it like it is. But Fairfield, if you compare them to like a sports team, was like the New York Yankees. They literally outfit us from head to toe with everything. And I quickly learned that not all police departments are like that. Some of the police departments, I learned that the rookies had to pay for their own guns.
So is that because the town made it a point to budget for that, Jim? I mean, why would that be the case? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They don't want to spend the money. And here's the thing.
when it made me so immensely proud, even back then, not knowing anything else about anything, it made me proud that it actually made me a better police officer and a better person, because guess what? Those that supported me cared. And it's the same thing throughout my career, because every single time I wanted to go to training, they, for the most part, they would allow it. Sometimes they would say no, or, pie in the sky or whatever. But Fairfield, like many other departments in Connecticut, understand that taking care of your personnel and training, especially training, is extremely important, because it develops into a very professional person who actually takes the job serious and continues to have a renewed interest in it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think it's kind of, again, it's supporting what goes back to what you were saying before, which is in the last few years, a lot of police officers, a lot of state troopers have really felt like, man, where, do we have the backing? Do we have the support of our towns, cities, or the state even? And even feeling like just, again, support is really the word I keep coming back to, Jim. And I think you're reiterating that.
Yeah, and it's a psychological thing. If you tell the person from the very beginning, I'm only going to half support you, then they're only going to put in half an effort. And this is how the towns get sued. This is how administrators start losing money and things like that. And even more importantly, fellow officers get injured and killed because of things like that. So one thing that you should not relent on, and you should not give away or take away, rather, is training. Training is so important, especially if an incident happens in town and you have to go to court and you have to explain out to a whole bunch of people what was done. You want to be on the right side of that training, and you want to be on the right side of the law. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do know.
But I was shocked. I mean, there were people waiting weeks for their guns to come in, because, they have.
Well, it's like teachers, Jim. It's interesting that you say this, because the comparison I can think of is when you look at, let's use a Fairfield, for example. I'm sure I'm talking out of turn, but I've never heard of a teacher in Fairfield having to fund their supplies for their students. However, if you just kind of hop, skip, and jump over to Bridgeport, every single summer, those teachers are fundraising for basic supplies, things that they need for their classrooms, for their students. I mean, it makes a huge difference when you talk about turnover, just teachers staying in their careers in Bridgeport, which is what we need. The conditions they work in before they even step into a classroom are more challenging than what they would face in places that get more support, have the funding, have the support, like a Fairfield. So absolutely, I could see where that would make a huge difference, just using that example.
Yeah, and I believe that cities should always have almost like the best educational opportunities, so that those in the suburbs want to actually send their kids there. And that's how it should be. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, it's not like that. But all I could say is that, I was very fortunate and blessed I had close encounters in my career, just like every other officer did. And I am blessed to have had, and it's funny, I look back now in retrospect, and, we all bitch about our jobs, and we all complain about it, and we all say, oh my God, and this and that, and oh my God. But the reality is that we're very, very fortunate in Fairfield County, and specifically in Fairfield, that, we had supportive leaders. I've had supportive chiefs. Even if I talk to some and don't talk to others, I still give them recognition, and I still give them credit, because it was their thinking and their decision-making that allowed me and every other officer to grow, to do whatever it is that you want to do, and this is why I'm able to take this information, all this information. It's funny, because I go all around the country teaching, right? And it always comes back for me to Fairfield. It's like Fairfield allowed me to do this.
Yeah.
And it's almost like an outreach. It's almost like a ministry, like an outreach all over the country, because if it wasn't for Fairfield's support and them giving me the training and them giving me all these things, I wouldn't have had any of that.
Right. So it's so true.
Look back,
yeah.
And it's
perspective. It's perspective, Jim. It does. It makes sense, and it's perspective. And I think that's why it's also such a value to have somebody like you come on a standing weekly, stop by on the show, because I think just getting that perspective from somebody who on the grounds did this for so long and continues to talk about it, again, regardless of political affiliation or anything, it's like you're getting firsthand what your experience was. And again, when you talk about support, a lot of this bill in particular, again, bill number 1504, that's being raised in front of the Judiciary Committee, it talks about more of that support for police and certainly, being more of a partnership with our law enforcement versus just continuing to let them go in an uphill battle. So, Jim, I appreciate that, especially ahead of today's hearing. Thank you so much. Always love to get your insight, and we'll talk again next week. You're listening to Melissa in the Morning on WICC.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
A lot of volume now on the 25A connector past Main Street to the merge of 95. The Connecticut Turnpike is slowed northbound in Milford, southbound in Bridgeport, Westport to Norwalk, heavy in Stamford. Delays in both directions, Trumbull on the Parkway, and then just past Route 7 in Norwalk. It is a slow, steady ride right into Stamford. Route 8 southbound, the delays are in Shelton. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
A wet start to the work week. Any rain over to showers by this afternoon after a heavier rain early this morning. We'll have a high in the upper 50s. Showers end this evening, clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Tomorrow is sunny with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
A.G. Williams Painting. A.G. Williams Painting. The people you trust to do the job right.
Imagine your house perfectly painted. Fresh colors, clean lines, looking better than ever. And now imagine a painting experience that's just as good. We're talking friendly painters, easy communication, and never feeling in the dark. With A.G. Williams Painting, you don't have to imagine it.
A.G. Williams Painting. The people you trust to do the job right.
A.G. Williams Painting has been painting in your neighborhood since 1906, and they know how to do it right. You'll love their team, too. A.G. Williams Painting has career craftspeople who are totally dedicated to their work and invested in your project. That means peace of mind and a paint job you can be proud of.
A.G. Williams Painting. A.G. Williams Painting. The people you trust to do the job right.
Did you know that when you talk, read, or sing with your child, you're helping to shape their brain? Every parent has the power to create a strong start for our children from the day they are born. Visit TalkingIsTeaching.org for free tips and ideas on how to transform everyday moments into magical moments for learning.
Live and local news all day. WICC 695.9. The voice of Connecticut. WICC Bridgeport, WFOX Southport, WEBE HD2 Westport, WPLR HD2 New Haven. Locally owned by Connoisseur Media.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. We begin at the White House, where the Trump administration is ignoring a federal judge's ruling on deportations after flying a couple of hundred Venezuelan migrants to prison in El Salvador. CBS's Scott McFarland.
This legal drama is escalating here in the nation's capital. The attorneys representing these plaintiffs, these people with ties to Venezuela who are challenging the Trump administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act for these deportations, have asked Judge James Boasberg here at the federal court to order the Trump administration turn over information about the flight. When did it take off? When did it land? When did the Trump administration know the order was to turn the plane around?
The 1798 Act's only been used 3 times in the War of 1812 and both world wars. An Ivy League professor's been deported to Lebanon, even though she had a valid visa. CBS's Wendy Gillette.
A federal judge in Boston has scheduled a hearing today to determine if U.S. Customs and Border Protection defied his order, blocking the removal of 34-year-old Dr. Rasha Alawi from the country. She holds an H-1B visa to work at Brown University, but was detained at Logan Airport in Boston last week.
The doctor is a kidney transplant specialist. Both President Trump and Vladimir Putin now confirm they're planning to speak by phone tomorrow in hopes of winding down the war in Ukraine. Mr. Trump told reporters on Air Force One last night,
"We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance."
Across the South and Midwest, cleanup underway after a storm system blamed for at least 40 deaths. Kelsey Webb says her 9-year-old daughter convinced the family to flee. when a tornado ripped through their home.
I was like, we've stayed here through several tornadoes. It'll be fine. And then she was like, no, Mom, we need to leave.
Same system is expected to bring high winds from Florida to New Jersey today and heavy rain across New York and New England. After we closed up our wallets tightly post-holiday season, a lot of us were shopping a little more last month. Retail sales rebounded 0.2% after a sharp drop of 1.2% in January. New research finds chatbots were driving a lot of what we purchased online. Adobe analyst Vivek Pandya.
Online retail has seen about a 1,200% increase in traffic coming from AI assistant platforms.
Speaking of humans, look who's returning to host next year's Oscars.
No AI! Yeah. We would never do that. We use child labor.
The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announcing this morning Conan O'Brien will be back. S&P futures up 3. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
WICC 695.9, Connecticut Lottery Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Both U.S. senators from Connecticut voted against the funding bill that was passed by the Senate on Friday. Senators Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy opposed the measure that continues funding the U.S. government through September 30th. Blumenthal says the Republican bill slashes billions of dollars from community budgets for police officers, firefighters, and teachers, and for critical research. Murphy says that this bill makes changes to the law that will make it easier for President Trump to implement his plans to destroy the country. Governor Ned Lamont is worried that cuts by the Trump administration could lead to a fiscal crisis in Connecticut. Lamont says the state's budget should be in good shape for the rest of the current fiscal year, ending June 30th. However, the governor also says the uncertainty over huge spending cuts ordered by the Trump administration could lead to issues crafting the upcoming 2-year budget package. The upcoming class of the Bridgeport Police Academy has been paused over allegations of misconduct. State regulators reportedly ordered the halt to the city's plan for a new class of cadets in June after anonymous complaints of sexual misconduct at the academy. The Police Officer Standards and Training Council gave no specific reason publicly for the decision reached last week. However, Bridgeport Police Chief Roderick Porter has indicated that it involved allegations of sexual misconduct. The UConn men and women's basketball teams have received their NCAA tournament assignments. The UConn men's team received an at-large bid as an 8 seed in the West region and will play a first-round game against Oklahoma Friday night. The UConn women are a 2 seed in the Spokane 4 region and will host the first 2 rounds at Gamble Pavilion in Stores. The Huskies open the tournament against 15 seed Arkansas State on Saturday. For the Voice of Connecticut WICC, I'm John Kamal.
Your news is sponsored by Optimum Business. Take your business to the next level with Optimum Business Essentials. Get reliable, secure internet connection backup and business phone. It's all for just $99 a month. Visit Optimum.com/business or call 855-2-OPTIMUM today. There is a huge chain that has announced it is going to be shutting down a lot of its storefronts, including some here in Connecticut. It's a pretty well-known craft store, but it's a reminder that when you hear about store closures, what that means for you and not leaving money on the table. We're going to get some advice from the Better Business Bureau. Kristen Johnson joins us in just a couple of minutes.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Slow on the turnpike northbound through Milford. We've got delays in Bridgeport, Westport, Norwalk, and Stamford southbound. Busy in Trumbull southbound on the Parkway, and then New Canaan into Stamford. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Pack the umbrella. It will be a wet morning. Any rain ending as showers later this afternoon. It will be a mild day with a high in the upper 50s. Any showers end this evening. Clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Dine out for half price. It's a sweet deal week at voiceofct.com. Great local restaurants are offering $50 gift cards for only $25. Go to voiceofct.com, click on the sweet deal banner. Restaurants include AB's Falafel, Little Pub, Joseph's Steakhouse, Twisted Vine, Caloroso Eatery, Gusto, Hair of the Dog, Twin Pines, Sports Center, The Adventure Park, Choice Pet, and more. Buy $50 gift cards for only $25. Go to voiceofct.com, click the Sweet Deals banner.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow, provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains Tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at your local CVS.
When disaster strikes, whether it's a house fire, furnace malfunction, or burst pipes, trust me, Felicia, the owner of Robin Hood Adjusters, to be your advocate. With over a decade of experience, I specialize in increasing the settlement value of your insurance claim and shielding you from unethical lowball offers by the insurance giants. Visit RobinHoodAdjustersCT.com and see how I can help protect your interests and get you the compensation you deserve. At Robin Hood Adjusters, I work for you.
It's time for another Melissa in the Morning Scam Alert on the Voice of Connecticut, WICC 600 and 95.9.
We learned that a pretty popular arts and crafts retailer, Joann Fabrics, declared bankruptcy and that it's going to be closing a lot of its physical store locations, including ones right here in Connecticut. But how do you know that you're not coming across fake going out of business sales? Joining us now, Kristen Johnson of the Better Business Bureau. And Kristen, I'd imagine this has been an issue well before Joann's made their announcement.
Right. Bed Bath & Beyond, we saw the same thing, David's Bridal. I will say that just since January 1st, we've received 100 reports of this scam to BBB Scam Tracker. Like we always talk about, scammers like to be where we are. They know there's going to be going out of business sales. So they say, hey, why don't I set up my own fake website and try to take some of that money?
Wow.
Take advantage of people.
So, I mean, scammers obviously wasting no time. As soon as Joann's had made this announcement, they have already started to kind of get their feelers out there trying to dupe people. So how does the scam work, Kristen, for people who are not familiar?
Yeah, people are reporting fake Facebook ads and other ads on social media that claim deep discounts. We're talking 80-90% off. Now, when Joann Fabrics first made this announcement, they said that there would be, about 25%. Now it's up to 50% in-store discount, sometimes higher for seasonal items. But the catch is these were all fake websites. These were online sales, 80-90% off. Too good to be true. And in fact, if you go to Joann's website now, which is joann.com, it will warn you right at the very top, we are no longer selling online. Beware of fake Joann websites.
Oh, wow. So
yeah, that's as of March 1st.
Okay.
Purchases on joann.com were disabled. But before that, when this announcement was first made, they were selling online. And so people were going to other websites that they thought were the real deal because scammers were stealing pictures. They were stealing the fonts, making it look just like Joann's website. But instead it was like Joann joanne-us.com or joannefabrics.com when the real one is just joanne.com. And so people lost money. They thought they were actually dealing with the actual retailer. And what they reported to us is that after the fact, they realized that it was a fake. And when they tried to contact the company they had purchased the items from, there was no way of contacting them. One person called a phone number, and it was just a pre-recorded message about insurance. Others said that the email address bounced back or there was no email address. So unfortunately, they found out too little, too late.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So Kristen Johnson is here of the Better Business Bureau. And how can we avoid these fake going out of business sales scams? I mean, you sort of hinted at the first one, which is making sure you're actually on a legitimate website.
Right. And instead of clicking on these ad links, you want to go to the official site, which again is joanne.com. You don't want to just go through the social media ads. If you see something that seems too good to be true, look up the actual website. Go to the actual website and see if they are offering that same deal. Again, you want to make sure you look at the URL, see if it's the real website or not, and know that if the deal does sound too good to be true, if it's 80 to 90%, it's probably a fake. But if you feel like you have to take advantage and you think it's worth the risk, make sure you use a credit card, because then you may be able to contest the charge if you find out later. But of course, you can save all of that headache by doing the research ahead of time, spending that 5 minutes to make sure you're on the right website before you actually buy, because it's going to take you more than 5 minutes probably to try to get your money back when you have to call your credit company or your bank, credit card company or your bank. So those are some tips that we always suggest when you're shopping online. And then be careful about the information you're being asked. We actually had some reports of people who were asked for their social security number, and that was a big tip-off for them. They realized it was a scam at that point, and luckily they didn't give that information out. But you definitely, why would a craft store be asking you for your social security number? That just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I guess anybody, any retailer asking, I mean, even think of if you do online shopping all the time. I've never in my life, sorry to name drop, I've never been asked for my social security by Amazon, for example. So why would that happen now? No, it's true. We almost get into this habit of, I hear about it, but it's not going to happen to me, right? We get in this sort of pigeonholed sort of a mindset where you hear about these things happening, but you never think you could be the victim of this. But unfortunately, scams really, they have no specific, I'd say, demographic. They really hit the young, the old, everybody in between. It's unbelievable. So something that's interesting, Kristen, you had said if something seems too good to be true. When you hear about liquidation sales, though, I mean, a lot of times you could hear 50, 60, even 70% off. I mean, how common is it, especially this early on, that you would see high percentages like an 80 to 90%? Because I think that's something to really, when we talk about being wary of it, it's pretty rare you'd see it that high this early on since the closure dates.
Right, because when Joanne Fabrics, and that's another thing, is you want to look at what the actual announcement said. And the actual announcement said we're going to have months and months of these deals. So this is probably going to go on at least through May. So they're not going to start off at 80 or 90%. They're going to start off lower. So they said 25%, except for seasonal items. At the time, they said Christmas items would be 75%. So knowing that, if you saw something the first few weeks that was 80 or 90%, you would know that that wasn't right. And now we know that all online sales have been disabled. So if you see anything online for Joanne Fabrics on sale, you know that it's a fraud.
Yeah, it's certainly something to keep in mind. And again, you can always, just go to the storefront too, right? I mean, that's one of the ways, Kristen Johnson, that would make, the most sense. I hate to say that because I know convenience is king, but maybe you just go straight to the store. I mean, can you call still at this point? Are there people that are also, that's another thing you could do is just taking that extra step when you talk about doing research, calling directly and just saying, hey, are you guys really offering 80, 90% off? I mean, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, I would call it the local brick and mortar store in your town and ask them. But I think a lot of times logic kind of goes out the window when we see those discounts because we so badly want it to be true that we kind of ignore that side of our brain that's telling us, hold on, pause, this doesn't seem right, because we all love a great deal.
Right.
So of course we're gonna go after it. We're not gonna think about it. Emotion kind of takes over everything else, and that's unfortunately why all of us are susceptible to online purchase scams. I mean, they're always the most common scam again, every single year reported to BBB Scam Tracker. No matter how many times we tell people about the red flags, unfortunately, sometimes, again, emotion takes over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and certainly you feel the pressure. You feel like we're running out of time. I don't want to miss out. And sometimes, logic unfortunately takes a back seat. But there are more tips online if you want to avoid these bogus bargains for going out of business sales like the one we're hearing about with Joann's. And you can find out more at bbb.org. And, of course, check out their BBB Scam Tracker as well. Kristen Johnson, always appreciate having you in our corner. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. You too, and happy shopping. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Melissa in the Morning.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now Traffic.
Connecticut Turnpike pretty heavy in Bridgeport, and then from Westport 17 to Norwalk, heavy in Stamford. And with the delays on the Turnpike, we're seeing it backed up on the 25A connector past Main Street for the merge of 95. Same thing with the Route 7 connector, too, as you approach 95 in Norwalk. Slow and trouble on the Parkway. Heaviest now from Route 7 into Stamford. Sponsored by RD Cinto. If you move your office to an RD Cinto property, clients will see you in a world-class facility. Learn more at Cinto.com. You deserve it. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
A wet start to the work week. Any rain over to showers by this afternoon. After a heavier rain early this morning, we'll have a high in the upper 50s. Showers end this evening, clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Tomorrow is sunny with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Going out to eat for half the price? There's only one word to describe that. Sweet. It's another week of sweet deals at voiceofct.com. Half-price gift cards to your favorite locally owned restaurants and businesses. But when the sweet deals are gone, they're gone. And they go fast. So don't wait. Stay local and save some dough. Grab the half-price sweet deals now at voiceofct.com.
Never met a dent we couldn't smooth out. At Sono Collision, we turn your oopsie-daisy into amazing with our top-notch repair. No more crying over crumpled fenders. We'll erase your car's memory of that pesky light pole. Cruise over to Sono Collision today, where even your car forgets its accidents. Visit us at sonocollision.com, because a good car deserves a great recovery.
It's time for the Market Scoreboard Report with Ron and Sana. Now on WICC's 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
After Friday's rebound rally, stocks are a little shaky this morning after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said over the weekend that corrections are healthy. The market pulling back a little bit in early trade. Not a lot, but still down across the board for the major averages. Europe and Asia were higher across the board in overnight and midday trade. Bond yields slipping a bit in a week in which we'll see a lot of economic data and the Federal Reserve's decision on interest rates come Wednesday. We have bond yields at about 4.29%, just ticking lower. Oil prices up about 86 cents this morning. President Trump threatening Iran with military action if they don't control rebels in Yemen after an attack on those rebels over the weekend. Also have gold trading higher above $3,000 again. Little flight to safety there as the market's hedging against any uncertainties this week. Again, a lot of economic data, the Fed decision, geopolitical risk, and the like. So a downside start to the day. We'll see if that remains
Texting
true.
enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text ALL to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast. Absolutely free. Text ALL to 321-321. That's ALL to 321-321.
Melissa in the Morning is back on the voice of Connecticut. WICC's 695.9.
Connecticut is certainly being represented in this year's March Madness, both the men and women's teams from UConn clinching a spot, as well as Yale's men's basketball team and Fairfield University women's basketball teams. And for all the details on what we can expect for this March Madness and some predictions, we go to Rob Adams, who has been a longtime play-by-play announcer here in Connecticut. Rob, welcome back. And are you excited for March Madness? Here we go.
It's too early for me to sing, but I want to sing It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. It's fantastic. Let's go.
What, Mr. Baseball Man? This is the most wonderful. Well, I guess spring training did just start. So, yeah, okay, that's fair. March Madness, spring baseball, sure.
Think of the way I'm looking at it. We start March Madness, and by the end, we're already into baseball season. It's a fantastic time of year.
All right, well, there you go. See? So, I mean, if you need to sing, we totally understand. A lot of excitement. I want to talk about, obviously, no one's really surprised, I want to say, with UConn men and women's, although we will get back to the men in a second. What I thought was really exciting, though, Yale men's basketball team headed to the NCAA. What's amazing is this the third time or fourth time in the last few years that they've now clinched a spot? I mean, Yale all of a sudden is an up and coming, it seems, basketball program.
It does. It's been fun to watch what Yale is doing, and I really like Yale in this tournament, by the way, to give you a little hint of where I'm thinking. I think Yale's going to be a lot of fun coming right out of the gate with Texas A&M in the men's in the South region, and I think they can make some noise in this tournament. Of course, that means, by Thursday night or whenever they play, I'll be done, but that's, that's the beauty of this.
Yeah, they're going to be playing in their first round for Thursday. The other one that I think is really exciting is the Fairfield women's basketball team, and this is their second straight NCAA tournament appearance, and they're going to be going up against Kansas State in their first round this Friday. So good on Fairfield to you, making some noise as well for the women.
Yeah, after they went and won the MAC down in Atlantic City, they make this run to now play Kansas State, as you said. And, hey, at this time of year, why not? You want to play your best basketball now. You've gotten into the dance. You got to keep those dancing shoes on somehow. So, I like them. I believe they're a 12 or a 13 seed, so it's not an easy ride for them, but they can make some noise in this tournament as well.
Now, Rob Adams, of course, let's talk about UConn and the women's team. I think they got number 2, which is exciting for them and, always a superstar team. But it feels like the women have not taken home an NCAA tournament win since Paige Beckers has been on the team. Do we believe Paige can clinch it this year before she graduates?
I do think they can make a really deep run in this tournament because, first of all, it's UConn. And let's face it, you have as good a coach as there will ever be in Gino Auriemma. You've got Paige Beckers. Right. You've got so much to like. So you come out, and remember, you're starting with a home game against Arkansas State, in the opening round in Region 4, and you just got to work your way up from there. USC is the top dog in the region, and it's USC. They have a great legacy of great women's basketball at USC. They will be a tough out. So there are tough teams in this tournament, but honestly, I can see UConn really going all the way at least to the regional final, if not into the national championship. So I give UConn an outstanding chance.
Okay, now what about the men, though? Because we really haven't seen, to the UConn men's standard, we haven't seen that stellar of a season. I mean, they're going in as the 8th seed. What are the chances of that three-peat, which we know Dan Hurley would love a three-peat. He'd love to make history, but, what are the chances of that?
I should just start packing my bags now because I don't see the odds being great for UConn to win that third championship. And I tend to wonder if they don't struggle right off the bat with an Oklahoma team who they seeded number 9, and I think Oklahoma's better than a 9 seed. I think UConn's in trouble in the first round alone. So it's going to be tough to get them out and get them going. It's been a very topsy-turvy season for UConn. And let's face it, when you've won 2 in a row, it's easy to be gunned for. The target is on your back, and people were after UConn this year. Bloom came off the rose, as the saying goes. Danny Hurley's charm has kind of faded a little bit because that's what happens. When you start winning, people go, oh, well, now all he does is complain about referees and all this other stuff. All he does is get thrown out of games. It's silly stuff like that. So we stopped looking at UConn as this wonder of a two-time national champion, and now it's annoying UConn going for a three-peat, because most people, when you get right down to it, don't like dynasties. So I think UConn's in a bit of trouble this week. Then they'll have to play Florida in all likelihood, who might be the national champion when this is all said and done in the second round. So UConn's road is really tough.
It's an uphill battle. I guess we'll see if anybody's busting brackets this March Madness. We'll find out. Rob Adams, always appreciate getting your insight, and good luck. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait to get it going.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Rob Adams again right here on Melissa in the Morning. We're going to be right back.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now traffic.
Looking at delays southbound on the Parkway in Trumbull. They're easing a bit through Westport, and actually much better ride now as you come out of Norwalk heading towards New Canaan. Turnpike southbound slow in Bridgeport. Westport to Norwalk, heavy volume through most of Stamford, and delays northbound around exit 40 on the Connecticut Turnpike, just slow through that area. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
Pack the umbrella. It will be a wet morning. Any rain ending as showers later this afternoon. It will be a mild day with a high in the upper 50s. Any showers end this evening. Clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Sunny tomorrow with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Hey, it's Melissa, and when I was 12 years old, I fell and I chipped my front bottom tooth. And for about 20 years, I actually hid my smile because I was pretty insecure that people would just notice my flaws. But then I heard about this complimentary smile design consultation with Dr. Philip DeJesus in Bridgeport. So I went to his office, and he showed me using his state-of-the-art leading imaging software what he could do to correct my smile. In fact, he had a few different options for me. And seeing the results before anything happened actually gave me so much confidence to go through with the smile design plans. But I also knew that money was a big factor in why I held back on getting dentistry work done. But I was really encouraged because Dr. DeJesus has financing options, I should say, and he also is offering up to $2,500 off major cosmetic and restorative treatment. And I could tell you firsthand, it is so incredible how patients can go from smile insecurity to genuine confidence in every situation without ever being left without teeth. And I am living proof of that. After 10 months of doing Invisalign, I literally smile bigger and brighter than ever before, and that is thanks to my friend Dr. Philip DeJesus. If you want to check out what he has to offer, including his free smile design consultation, you could go to his website, dejesusdental.com. And if you're just in the market to find a great dentist as well, right now, he is offering a new patient special for just $75. You'll get a thorough cleaning, comprehensive exam, digital x-rays, personalized treatment plan, and oral care take-home kit. Again, just for $75 if you're a brand new patient. So what are you waiting for? Check out dejesusdental.com for more information. That's dejesusdental.com.
Touchdowns, goals, spikes. What was this week's play of the week in local high school sports? Check out the high school sports play of the week at therudenreport.com. See and subscribe. Powered by the new Genesis of Ridgefield, located in Norwalk.
For over a century, Abriola Parkview Funeral Home in Trumbull has been a beacon of support and compassion for families navigating the profound challenges of grief and loss. Family owned since 1906, we are dedicated to helping you honor your loved ones with dignity and respect. Trust our experienced team to guide you through this difficult time, allowing you to celebrate a life well lived. Abriola.com, your legacy, our commitment.
Our financial system is cracking under pressure. Your retirement is at risk. Take control now. Lear Capital is offering a free Sky High Silver Report and Precious Metals IRA guide at BetterNestEgg.com. Don't leave your future to chance. Go to BetterNestEgg.com.
This is WICC 695.9, the voice of Connecticut.
CBS News Brief. President Trump says he will speak with President Vladimir Putin of Russia tomorrow.
See if we have something to announce maybe by Tuesday. I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday. And a lot of work's been done over the weekend.
At least 40 people are dead as storms head east. It was all due to everything from tornadoes to wildfires. CBS's Dave Malkoff.
There are some tornadoes in this region that were on the ground an estimated 70 miles. There was one here in Mississippi that was on the ground for at least 51 miles.
Drone swarms inside the U.S. could be spying, and the ability to detect and track them is lagging. That's what Glenn Van Herk says, the former Joint Commander of North American Aerospace Defense Command and U.S. Northern Command, who was on 60 Minutes.
It's a capability gap. Certainly, they can come and go from any direction. The FBI is looking at potential options, but they don't have an answer right now.
CBS News Brief. I'm Matt Piper.
WICC 695.9, Connecticut Lottery Voice of Connecticut Local News Update.
Today is St. Patrick's Day, and there were multiple parades this past weekend. State Police Trooper Dan Hill spoke with WICC this morning about how safe Connecticut drivers were on the roads.
I think the most important thing is there was no fatal or serious injury accidents this weekend, which I'm very, very happy to report. However, we had 30 DUIs over the course from Friday to today. We had over 200 accidents with no injuries, 207 accidents with no injuries, and 21 accidents with minor injuries.
Trooper Hill also pointed out that with today being the day of the holiday, state and local police will be on the lookout for impaired drivers and urges everyone to celebrate responsibly. Both U.S. senators from Connecticut voted against the funding bill that was passed by the Senate on Friday. Senators Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy opposed the measure that continues funding the U.S. government through September 30th. Blumenthal says the Republican bill slashes billions of dollars from community budgets for police officers, firefighters, and teachers, and for critical research. Murphy says that this bill makes changes to the law that will make it easier for President Trump to implement his plans to destroy the country. Governor Ned Lamont is worried that cuts by the Trump administration could lead to a fiscal crisis in Connecticut. Lamont says the state's budget should be in good shape for the rest of the current fiscal year ending June 30th. However, the governor also says the uncertainty over huge spending cuts ordered by the Trump administration could lead to issues crafting the upcoming two-year budget package. Connecticut Congressman John Larson also had harsh words for the administration, particularly regarding Elon Musk, after the tech billionaire failed to appear at a hearing regarding the Department of Government Efficiency.
I'm sure he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so eminent, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why. Because he's out to privatize Social Security.
Frustrations with the president aren't limited to elected officials either. 100 people gathered on West Main Street in Stamford yesterday to protest actions taken by Trump, including but not limited to Elon Musk's involvement. The protest was peaceful and was one of several that took place across the country, with many others taking place at Tesla showrooms. News 12 reported that another protest was scheduled for Saturday, April 5th, in front of the Stamford government building. The upcoming class of the Bridgeport Police Academy has been paused over allegations of misconduct. State regulators reportedly ordered the halt to the city's plan for a new class of cadets in June after anonymous complaints of sexual misconduct at the academy. The Police Officer Standards and Training Council gave no specific reason publicly for the decision reached last week. However, Bridgeport Police Chief Roderick Porter has indicated that it involved allegations of sexual misconduct. Visitors of Great Island in Darien will soon have more freedom to explore with their dogs. The Town Board of Selectmen unanimously agreed to allow dogs off the paths on Great Island starting June 1st. The presence of dogs on the property has been a matter of debate in town for some time. TV 79 in Darien attended a Parks and Rec meeting this past fall where a townwide survey was cited about residents' concerns.
The first one is concern about ecology and ecologically sensitive areas and the impact that dogs can have on that. The second is a water quality issue because waste is a reality. And then finally, there are people who just say that they're afraid of dogs.
Pet owners will have to keep dogs on a leash while on property and will need to pick up after them too. A basketball coach at Foreign High School in Milford has been placed on leave after being arrested for an incident at practice last month. Foreign JV basketball coach Joe Meade allegedly shoved a player on his team, swearing at him in front of the rest of the team on February 19th. Meade is due in Milford Superior Court on March 28th. The UConn men and women's basketball teams have received their NCAA tournament assignments. The UConn men's team received an at-large bid as an 8 seed in the West region and will play a first-round game against Oklahoma Friday night. The UConn women are a 2 seed in the Spokane 4 region and will host the first 2 rounds at Gamble Pavilion in Stores. The Huskies opened the tournament against 15 seed Arkansas State on Saturday. Yale's men's team also clinched a spot as a 13 seed facing Texas A&M on Thursday, and Fairfield University women's team, the number 12 seed, is set to face Kansas State Friday. For the Voice of Connecticut WICC, I'm John Kamal.
And your news is sponsored by Courtesy Carpet Flooring Design Center. Now is the time for a fresh new look for your home. Save on top flooring brands at Courtesy Carpet, Route 111 in Monroe. Connecticut's Department of Labor just released its latest job report, and I want to see what we are looking like here in Connecticut. So we're going to talk to the commissioner coming up next right here on Melissa in the Morning.
WICC Smart MLS Right Now traffic.
Looks like pretty much a speed limit right at this moment on the Parkway. No issues there. Turnpike heavier in Bridgeport, Westport to Norwalk, and slow from 9 to 6 in Stamford. Looking at some northbound delays, too, as you approach the construction area in Stamford. Fairfield County traffic every 10 minutes on WICC.
A wet start to the work week. Any rain over to showers by this afternoon after a heavier rain early this morning. We'll have a high in the upper 50s. Showers end this evening, clearing after midnight with a low in the mid-30s. Tomorrow is sunny with a high near 60. I'm meteorologist Paul Piorek on WICC.
Selling your home is a numbers game. The more potential buyers who see it, the greater the opportunity to sell. And when your home is listed on Smart MLS, more than 21,000 realtors see it, and so do all their buyers. Suddenly, the number of people looking at your home starts to grow by a lot. More realtors sharing your listing, more people seeing your home, more offers coming in, and maybe even more cash in your pocket. Smart move, right? Ask your realtor.